discover the Freemasons and stuff. We're gonna find the Freemasons. Just kidding. What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's goody, goody, goody in the hoodie, hoodie, hoodie. Hello, hello, hello. Grand rising to all of you beautiful humans that are in here already today. Damn. We got a squad. We got Levi Fox, Monica Bailey, Levi, Monica Bailey, Levi Fox, Amanda Christine. What's up? What's up? This is a little Yoda. It's a little Yoda I got over here. You can make it a happy Yoda, or you could say it's like Grogu, I guess. You can make it a mad one. Like there's Freemasons everywhere. I'm just kidding. Bro, dude, today's been gonna be a wild one. It's gonna be fun. I'm gonna learn some stuff. Hopefully you learn some stuff. Hopefully we figure out some stuff together. Because, bro, this weekend I had my mind blown. Okay, I've shown you pictures. I've shown you pictures of the Freemasonic Lodge that's in like downtown Salt Lake, correct? I've stumbled upon one that's like 2 blocks from my house. It's hidden, it's discreet. It's got a long track record that we're going to go down today. Who do we got up in here, though? We've got freaking Lost Scroll. We got Lacey Lane in the house. What's up? What's up? We got some peeps already up in here. Release and Transform. What's up, dude? What's up, dude? What's up, dude? No. So let me do this real fast. Levi. Real fast. Because Anna Ray, what's up? What's up? What's up? Okay, so this is the link to the YouTube. I'm going to drop it in the Facebook chat. I'd love to actually just get you guys up over on YouTube if you're on Facebook, if I'm being honest with you. I think that you'll enjoy this experience a lot more if you just click the link that I pinned to your top of your chat and just jet right over to the YouTube. When you get to YouTube, could you just put a green, a red, and a yellow heart in the chat so I know for a fact that you came over from Facebook? I would really just appreciate that. How are y'all doing today? It's Monday morning. We're getting right fucking up in here. Last week was a little bit of a spiritual week. We're right back up in the shit today. You know what I'm saying? What's up, Kathy? I'm glad to see you too. Like I said, I just dropped a link to the YouTube. I hope you head over to YouTube if you're on Facebook. I'm pretty positive you'll enjoy this experience watching me live stream on YouTube. There she is. Kathy, what's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? As well as now you can see Kathy from Facebook. If you are in Kick, Twitch, or YouTube, your comments will be on screen. You know what I mean? Or you can go to Kick. I'll drop the Kick link. The reason I'm dropping the Kick link is because the Kick link, if you join the Kick, where almost everybody is at, you'll be able to join our Thursday night Kick only streams. Those are on Thursday evenings, 7 p.m., 7:30 Mountain Standard Time. As well as at the end of every single stream, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we do like we debrief on Kick only. We also do we do breath work meditation. It's just like more intimate, more one-on-one with everybody who is up on the Kick. I'll drop that in the chat. I'm going to pin that to the YouTube chat. I'm actually going to pin that to the Facebook chat too. There's a YouTube link and a Kick link in the chat on Facebook. On Facebook. Sound like my fucking little pubescent son. On Facebook. Okay, so you can either use the Kick link, which if you just go to Kick, you can just always be a Kick. There's no reason to go to any other platform. The reason I'm on Facebook is because I have a large following on Facebook, which I'm trying to direct traffic to these other streamer-friendly apps, whether that's YouTube or Kick. But either way, I'm glad that you're here. Thanks for being here. Can we just start the stream off strong? Julia Brand is up in the house. My sister from Mexico. Monica Canada, my sister from Canada, is up in the house. I got a whole bunch of brothers and sisters up in here. Woo! I'm so happy that you love the new setup. Just wait. Just wait. Just wait. It gets better. It gets so much better. First and foremost, cheerio, mate. Top of the morning to you. Hello there, governor. Oh, wait a second. Isn't that like an English accent? Wait, that's where the Oddfellows are from. We're going to get into that in a little while. You know, there's something just nostalgic, you know? And if you just like drink hot coffee and you just got that afterwards. Maybe I'm fucking weird, bro. Maybe I'm weird. Yeah, you're right. Maybe you should make some coffee. Bring another pair of fucking panties or underwear because you might shit your pants today. Figuratively or literally, I'm not sure. That's up to you. That's up to you on how comfortable you are with the chat. Anyways, okay, here we go. 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 Good morning, Samantha Moon. Oh, yeah, I need to take a little blink ski. You guys know who ADN 771776 is? Anyone? I know Scruffmeister knows who ADN is. It says, I'd like to get you on my stream. Yeah, we should talk about the Freemasonic roots in Utah. ADN stream coming soon, just so you know. Then an ADN stream's coming soon. Same with a Real Bays. I'm pretty sure Real Bays is having me on in the next few weeks, bro. I'm super excited about it. Shout out Real Bays. Shout out ADN 1776. Shout, hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'll show you later on in the stream. All right, guys, gentlemen, ladies, aliens, humans. Are you guys ready for today's mindful message? If you're new here, this is basically what I like to do. We go down the craziest rabbit holes and talk about everything up under the sun that makes us human. Like literally. We could go all the way deep down into the Jesus rabbit hole. We could end up discussing the Seal of Solomon or the homunculus. We could go all the way to the sacred geometry and the Fibonacci sequence that was created up inside of the Great Pyramid. That's like the same angle as a it's like the same angle as a rainbow. The pyramids are built on the latitude that equals the speed of light. And then we could find ourselves deep into like occult symbolism and secret societies. Or we could just talk about how everything we experience is our perception of reality, because our attention is what controls this entire 3D fractal light matrix, because where our attention goes, energy flows, and we have been proven that through the double slit experiment. So basically at the beginning of every single stream, I never know where we're going to end up, okay? So I like to just try to give y'all something you can take with you when you close out of this app. I personally like to call them a mindful message. But what do I know? I'm just a hippie from Utah who likes to talk a lot, has lots to say, very opinionated, if you couldn't tell. But let's get right up into this. Ready? Cheers. So what if the reason secret societies have felt so powerful is not only because of what they hide, but because of what most people have actually forgotten, how powerful it is to actually belong to something that has purpose. And I want to start this off with nothing but love, with an open mind, and with a very clear boundary for yourself and myself. I'm not here to tell you that every single person that's inside of any sort of lodge is evil. I'm not here to tell you that every single symbol is demonic. I'm not here to tell you that one hidden group controls every single thing happening in the world. It's all of them, not just one. I'm here because I came across this old fellow's lodge close to my house, and it actually sparked a whole bunch of questions. Like, why did humans ever feel the need to ever gather behind closed doors? Why do they have rituals? Why are there symbols? What are these degrees of Freemasonry? Why do they have passwords? What's the purpose of these ceremonies? Why the handshakes, the private rooms, the old buildings, the secret language, and the idea that some knowledge has to be earned before it can be shared? And ultimately, when I think about Freemasons and secret societies, my question really is why does it still make people feel uncomfortable today? Because whether we admit it or not, there has always been an outer world and an inner world. The outer world is what you see, like the news. It is your job. It's you going to school. It's the government building you walk by. It's the church, the courthouse, the office, the neighborhood, the timeline, the price at the gas pump, the bills that keep coming in your mailbox. But then there is also an inner world, like private conversations, trusted circles, the relationships that are built over years, the people who share information with each other before the public even knows, the people who know who to call, the people who have access to rooms, resources, capital, opportunities, and the decision makers that most people never actually even get to see. And that inner world does not always look like a dark candlelit room with cloaks, even though that does happen. Sometimes these happen in board meetings. They happen at like donor dinners. They happen at like alumni groups or country clubs, or it looks like a family that has known each other for generations. Sometimes it looks like a private group chat. Sometimes it looks like a small circle of people who meet every single week to build trust, exchange ideas, and decide to support one another. The language starts to change. The technology changes, but the human pattern doesn't. People gather. People build bonds. People create symbols. People protect the things that give their lives meaning. And when people feel excluded from those circles, they start wondering what's happening inside of those circles. Can I get some team humans in the chat? Because that's like a natural human instinct. It's not crazy, actually, at all. And if you're ready with me to look beneath the surface without letting fear run your mind, you can comment, I will look deeper, because you cannot understand secret societies without understanding the world that they come from. Before social insurance, before workplace protections, before health benefits, before many communities had public programs to help people through sickness, unemployment, disability, widowhood, or burial costs, people actually really did rely on each other. They formed fraternal orders. They formed mutual aid societies. They formed trade guilds. They formed faith communities or religions. Then they formed lodges, and they contributed what they could so that when somebody in the circle fell, the circle would help carry them. That is part of the historical story people leave out when they only talk about handshakes and hidden symbols. The Oddfellows, for example. After doing a little bit of research, they were founded in Baltimore in 1819, but came from England, where their organizing ideals became like friendship, love, and truth. And supposedly they grew as a fraternity and that was charitable and had multi-support purposes all the way into creating orphanages. Cabbage Patch Kids. Now think about that. They promote friendship, love, and truth. But when you start to do a little bit of digging, shit starts to get weird. These aren't weak words. Those are dangerous when people actually practice fraternal orders. Because a group of people who can trust each other, care for each other, pool their resources, and stand together can change the quality of life for everyone inside of that circle. That's real power. That's not like some fantasy thing. That's not movie power. That's like real human power, the power of being organized. And I think a lot of us have been trained to only recognize power when it comes with a title, a uniform, $1 million, a government office, or a television camera. The real power is actually quieter than that, bro. The real power comes from people inside of those rooms who keep their word. The power can be a community that makes sure nobody gets buried alone. Real power can be a network that creates jobs, shares information, funds one another, protects families, teaches skills, and passes hidden wisdom from one generation to the next. That's why this group matters. That's why, to me, the Oddfellows in this circle of people matter. That's why people have always been drawn to the idea of being initiated into something. To be initiated means that you're not just watching from the outside anymore. You are entering a deeper level of responsibility. You're being trusted with knowledge, expectations, and a role inside of some specific community. And at the healthiest version of that, inevitably, they're going to feel superior to us. They say it's about service. They say it's about character. But really, what I've come to learn is that it's about secrets. It's about hidden knowledge. It's potentially about magic, cloning, experiments on humans. The thing about these secret societies, though, is their privacy. Their privacy will protect their people. Privacy can protect them when they're vulnerable. Privacy can make room for them to have reflections, to do rituals, to gain trust, and to create transformation. But secrecy can also protect corruption. Secrecy can protect abuse. Secrecy can keep ordinary people from seeing who is making the decisions and whose interests are actually being served. That is why secrecy has always created questions. Why is it that powerful private organizations have attracted more rumors, accusations, fear, fascination, and sometimes some real scrutiny? Freemasonry is one of the most recognizable examples, and it's a modern form emerged in the 18th century Britain, with ritual systems and symbolism influenced by stonemason traditions. It spread across borders and drew many men who connected to cultural and political lives. Its privacy also helped generate long-standing suspicion and controversy. But I want you to notice something. The second that people start to not understand a symbol, to be honest, they do always fill it in the gap with fear. But once you start to actually do the research, you can see that this minute group of people who have private rituals potentially are controlling the entire planet. But the moment someone says, there's nothing to see here, do not ask questions, why is it that so many people just follow suit and just become passive? Where are the answers? The answer is not just blind belief. The answer is not blind fear. The answer is discernment, bro. The discernment is the ability to look at something mysterious, even scary, complex, and confusing without needing to make it feel like it's certain or it's a matter of a fact. Discernment says, I can admit that I don't know everything. I can study history. I can look for primary sources. I can separate a documented fact from a viral video. And I can acknowledge that hidden power exists. Secret societies exist. Jeffrey Epstein was creating his own secret society, just like Peter Thiel's dialogue. And when we get to a situation where we're objectively able to see right in front of our faces that potentially we're not watching government wars, we're not watching cartel wars. Right now in 2026, my personal opinion is we're watching secret society wars. Old lodges that have been controlling things for generations. These new lodges that are being created from billionaires and people who have technology. That is what a free mind sounds like to me. Someone who questions everything. Someone who's not restricted by thought loops inside of their head that create fear deep inside of their soul, which then allow the matrix to control everything that they do. We need more humans that are willing to look at things subjectively and make a decision based off of the information that's available instead of just blindly believe somebody because they have tons of followers, a title, a badge, tons of money, or maybe a certain reputation. That's a mind that's willing to look. We've already said this a bunch. Fear makes you so easy to manipulate. And if someone can make you afraid of a symbol, you will stop thinking about it. If someone can make you feel powerless, you'll stop asking questions. If somebody can convince you that every shadow contains a monster, you may never even notice the real systems that are right in front of you that actually have real monsters in them, these monsters are making real decisions on our planet. And if somebody convince you that there's nothing under the surface, how does the fluoride taste? That power that we have comes from transparency. It comes from open, honest communication. It comes from dialogue amongst conflicting views. It comes from no matter what life throws at you, you're still kind to the person that's the cashier at the gas station. Now, if I'm being honest with you, whether you're on the side that believes everything or you're on the side that questions everything, both extremes, they are trying to control. They're trying to control the people who obviously believe everything. The ones who drink fluoride, the ones who got the boosters, the ones that don't believe Dr. Fauci orchestrated COVID-19, the ones that believe that Jeffrey Epstein wasn't a Mossad agent. And then they're also trying to control what everybody else believes by spending millions and millions of dollars to get household names across the internet in front of your face telling you to not believe your own eyes. That is why I want us here right now in the middle. Awake, but not terrified. Curious, but not gullible. Open-minded, but not empty-headed. Willing to question, but still willing to verify. Because symbols, as we have come to learn, fuck, man, they are so powerful. Yeah, like the Israeli flag, the Israeli star. That's actually the Seal of Solomon, which is an ancient magic symbol going back thousands of years. Symbols are powerful, bro. Symbols can tell a story. Symbols can carry an identity. They can also carry a warning. They can hold a promise. They can remind a person what they stand for when nobody is watching. And they also say a secret language for the only people who know what to look for. Every single one of these groups have symbols. Countries have flags. Religions have like sacred imagery. Sports teams have logos. Brands have icons. Families will have like traditions. But at the end of the day, across most of these secret societies, there's a lot of similar dots that we could connect. There's a lot of similar symbols. Online communities in any capacity will have language, jokes, colors, memes, signals, shared experiences that make outsiders be like, whoa, what does that mean? And I will just say this, with as much research as I have done, the symbols don't automatically make something dark. Just like magic isn't inherently evil or inherently good. It's a tool, and it can be wielded in any capacity. Kids. Dealing with kids. Who's a parent? Who's a parent? We're parenting up in this bitch while we're streaming, bro. So I guess at the end of the day, all I'm trying to say is that history does matter. Why do you think they don't want us to read? Language matters. Symbols matter. Societies and communities and cultures and countries, whether they're still available today or hidden underneath maps and inside of books. My biggest question that I actually have is, as a society, like as a human race, like what have we actually forgotten? What have we forgotten about our community? What have we forgotten about meeting consistently with people who want to become better, who want to be wiser, who want to be more disciplined, who want to be more useful to one another? What have we forgotten about building buildings? What have we forgotten about shared responsibility? Do you think society is slowly forgetting what it means to keep your word? Because right now, a lot of people have followers, but no fellowship. A lot of people have access to information, but no wisdom. A lot of people have an audience, but no community, are consistently connected, but deeply alone. If you are one of those people who are isolated, I'm going to be honest, bro. You're easier to influence. You will trust anybody that gives you a sense of belonging. You will carry anything as truth if it makes you feel like you finally have a place in the world. This is why the work is not simply just exposing every single private group. The work is becoming internally anchored that you do not need to hand your mind over to any group, any guru, any algorithm, any institution, or any fear-based narrative just to feel safe. That's real gold, bro. I'm not being facetious. The most powerful secret society on earth, to be honest, is the humans. We really are. We're in the shadows. We're not heard. It's the one inside of your own mind. It's the collection of beliefs, fears, wounds, symbols, and stories that quietly decide what you believe is possible even for your own life. Like, really think about that. If we're able to subjectively observe these actual secret societies on planet Earth, why can't we familiarize that with the actual group of humans that want the Earth to be better? Why can't we just decide as a group of humans that we've had enough? There are ideas that you inherited way before you could even question them. There are rules that you learned way before you could even consent to them. There are fears that you absorbed from people who were afraid of themselves. And there are stories about money, love, success, race, power, spirituality, and safety, and your own worth that you may still be running from, or it's running your life from behind closed doors. At the end of the day, us humans really just need to wake up. We don't need to shame each other anymore. We just need to invite every person we meet. It's an invitation. It's an invitation to know yourself. It's an invitation to question the beliefs that once made you small. It's an invitation to become conscious of what gets your attention, what triggers your fear, and what makes you hand your power away. And I'm not standing here on like some podium saying that I have all of this figured out. I'm actually standing here on this, not even standing, actually, I'm sitting with a microphone and a camera telling you that I'm just as human as you are. Your first initiation is controlling your attention. Your second initiation is discernment. Your third initiation is personal responsibility. Because your attention means you notice what is happening inside of you and on outside of you without being on autopilot. Your discernment means that you seek truth without becoming addicted to the fear. Your responsibility means you stop waiting for somebody else to rescue your mind, your life, your relationships, or your future. And I'm not saying that you have to do this alone. I'm just asking, please, can we just start doing this together awake? We need to build our circles. We need to find people who tell you the truth with love. Find people who do not need you to stay small so you can stay comfortable. We need to build relationships where integrity matters more than our image. We need to build communities, bro, where people can disagree without dehumanizing each other. And then we study. Study, study, study. Research, research, research. And then we share our resources. And then we build. And then we care for another. And then we refuse to make fear passive. We refuse to let ignorance make everything else loud. We choose that we can be open and discerning. So I'm just going to leave you with this, bro. Before we get into today's stream, if you're still here, can you please drop Team Human in the chat? You don't need a secret password to wake up. You don't need some sort of invitation to speak and feel truth. You do not need a title, a robe, a symbol, or someone else's permission to build something that's sacred and intentional inside of your life. You simply just need curiosity. You need courage. You have to find a community, and you need discernment. And you need to remember, at the end of the day, the moment you stop giving your mind away to fear, you become such a harder human to control. I love you, Team Human. Shit, boy. Can I get some fire emotes in the chat if you guys fuck with that little mindful message we got going on there? What's up, Alfonso, Kim, Troy, Samantha? We got Kathy. We got Jordan up in here. We got Monica. We got Kelty. Queen Trip was in the house. We got Stan P. Melissa, what's up? What's up? Vox is in the house. What's good? What's good? We got a gang up of y'all up in here. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, boy. Okay, so you know how we do. You know how we do. All right, guys. So check this out. We got some clips to go over on X, okay? Some pics, some clips. We are going to continue reading the history of magic. It was written in 1913. We're on book 1, chapter 1. The derivations of magic, fabulous sources. And then we're going to really deep dive into these Oddfellows. We're going to watch this Mind Unveiled video about the Oddfellows, the repopulation, the orphans, the ghost cities, and we're going to start to build a little bit of a web because I really want to understand this lodge that's close to my house. We're going to ask AI and do some research. We're going to look up the Oddfellows and some of these terms up inside of web. I hope you all are here for it. If you're here, I appreciate you. What's up, Sammy Sweethearts up in the house? Let me fix this up. Okay, here we are. Infants were being created in artificial wombs after the reset. All these tabs I literally just put in Oddfellows, okay? Nicole Dean's in the house. What's up? I literally just went to X and typed in Oddfellows. No, the book we are going to read is actually from a different website called mindunveiled.com. I haven't actually looked at Joe Fell's library yet. That's something that I plan on doing here soon. There's so many books to be read. Fuck, man, I'd have to be reading all day to get all the books I want to read. But infants were being created. Let's just see what this little video has to say.
The 1850s, just after the last reset, there began a massive push to reintroduce technology, culture, and even people to the world. World's fairs had these massive exhibits called live infant incubators. These exhibits were insanely popular, drawing millions of visitors. They even had nurses in uniforms acting like caretakers. The babies weren't premature. They were being artificially gestated. This wasn't just a medical breakthrough. This was unfathomably advanced technology. Artificial wombs, mass baby production. Sounds a whole lot like a new world being repopulated after something big went down.
Something big went down, huh? Weird. Thank you for the gifted sub, Vox. I appreciate you on Kick. The Oddfellows is a secret men's society founded in 1713. The location in San Francisco is affiliated with the Bohemian Grove. Interesting. A 6-story San Francisco landmark, the home of the only neon sign left on Market Street, has sold for the first time since it was constructed in the aftermath of the 1906 earthquake and fire more than a century ago. A private investigator purchased the Oddfellows Temple on the corner of Market and 7th Street, according to a new release shared by real estate services from firm Colliers on Monday. The building sold for $6.75 million, the San Francisco Business Times reported. Built in 1909, the building belonged to the San Francisco chapter of the Independent Order of Oddfellows, was a replacement for the fraternal organization's original 1884 headquarters. That property, complete with a tower and spires, was deliberately blown up in an attempt to establish a fire break and stop multiple blazes that threatened to spread throughout the city in the wake of the 1906 earthquake, widely recognized for its symbol of a 3-link chain representing friendship, love, and truth, which can be seen everywhere from city buildings to gravestones. The Independent Order of Oddfellows is one of the oldest fraternal orders in the nation. It's crazy, bro. Interesting. Let's look at their page. Oddfellows.org. Welcome to the Oddfellows. Our history. Join us. It's cool to be odd. Lodge directory. Our history. About us. We are a global fraternal organization founded in 1819 with a mission to promote friendship, love, and truth while improving communities and aiding those in need, rooted in the principles of mutual aid and universal brotherhood. The IOOF, Eternal Order of Oddfellows, offers members the opportunity to connect, serve, and grow through charitable work, social activities, and personal development. With a rich history of fostering unity, goodwill, the Oddfellows are committed to making a passive difference in the world by embracing diversity. Where does it say? Where's the orphanages part? Nothing here yet. Weird. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, quick break. Israeli government was just exposed for paying Senator Ted Cruz through loopholes. He received $7 million in he received payments a part of a $7 million campaign to get Christians to go to Israel. Crazy. There's a secret society right there. Ever seen the video of George Bush during the September 11th kite plane must hit steel in that order? Now, plane must hit steel isn't hard to figure out. It's all Bohemian Grove, bro. It's all the Grove, bro. Oh, yeah, I can't play the sound to this. Pause. Okay, I can maximize it, though. Do you guys know what this is? I bet you don't. Maybe some of you do. I'll wait. Oh, yeah, that's the very first movie. The very first one. Cabbage Patch Kids being sold. Incubator babies. Incubator babies. Oh, yeah, you guys got to check this website out. Shout out Kevin is a Human. You guys got to check out Panopticon. The Panopticon Index. I'm dropping it in all the chats. Check out Kevin is a Human's new website. If you want to know more and deep dive in, do your own research and figure out stuff about this surveillance state that is taking over America. Check it out, bro. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out. Check it out now. Pump your brother right about now. Look at this. We're just going to check it out for just a second, and then we'll get more into the Oddfellows, okay? Well, let's see here. Where's the map? He's got a map somewhere. He's got all of this stuff. Palantir, Studio, Scale AI, Cellbrite, Babel Street, Data Miner. All this stuff is pretty crazy. We went over this on Thursday with the kick stream only, actually. They've got data fusion and analytics, facial recognition, license plate readers, drones and robotics, body and vehicle cameras. They've got gunshot detections, meaning when they say flock cameras, they're not just meaning cameras. They're actually putting microphones to listen to everything too. Social media monitoring. Wait a second. Social media monitoring. Wasn't there like this bombshell thing that just came out about social media platforms, or at least this database that's scouring the internet to pull people's pictures to create AI and potentially CSAM as well?
There has been a troubling report recently about AI-generated child sexual abuse material, often referred to as AI CSAM. According to the Internet Watch Foundation, the number of AI-generated images and videos showing realistic child exploitation has surged, appearing on both dark web and mainstream platforms.
I wonder where they get all of this information. Oh, yeah, it's because they probably just scour the internet and just take the data and the images of real humans, kids, and then just create CSAM with it. But yeah, panopticonindex.com. You guys should see this, bro. It's pretty insane. It's pretty insane. It's pretty insane. It's all here. Palantir, Scale AI, Data Miner, Shield AI, Hawkeye 360, Safe, Sky Safe. You got it all, bro. The CBP. We got fucking all of it, bruh. You know what I'm saying? Check out the website I just dropped, panopticon.index.com. We got a video we're going to watch after we read. After we read. Shout out Kevin is a human. I've got a lot of stuff to do today. I've got some Sammy Sweethearts. I got to finish. I've had a setback. I'm sorry. It happens quite often. I got to knock out some tie-dyes today. Speaking of which, actually, we are out. We are out of the Awakened Bear shirts, bro. Tripoverdrip.shop. We're out. Tie-dyes I'm making are these signed tie-dyes. They're signed by me and my wife. There's only a limited amount. Love you, bro. See you tomorrow, Kyle. Tripoverdrip.shop. I will drop it in all of the chats. Tripoverdrip.shop. If you want to help support the channel, the best way to help support the channel is get yourself some Trip Over Drip merch. We got all sorts of stuff, bro. We got freaking coffee. We got coffee mugs. We got canvas bags. We've got stickers. We've got hoodies. We got t-shirts, shorts, tank tops. You know what I'm saying? If you want to help support the channel, go get some Trip Over Drip today. Trip Over Drip merch to Dizzy. Let's get over to this book, though. I'm going to bring you in close for a little bit. How are y'all doing? What's good? Who's here today? Can we get some emotes in the chat? Yeah, Julie. There's quite a bit of people who got them shorts. Julia likes her shorts. They also have pockets. The shorts do as well. They have pockets. Cheerio. Been going through some changes over here. What's going down with you guys? We're sharpening the sword. You know what I'm saying? We're sharpening the sword. I can't wait, bro. I'm going to be on a fucking stream this week with someone. Oh, yeah. Let me show you her page. You should go follow her. Her name is, I don't know what her actual name is.
And what happened?
ADN. Oh, I'm not subscribed on my personal only. I'll subscribe right now. I'm subscribed on my YouTube account. Let me just pull her up. Oh, let me show you. Yeah, we got two tank tops. Divine Feminine tank tops that match the shorts. Thanks, Vox, for the kicks. Yeah, we got the crop top for the women's, and then we got the longer tank top for the women's. We also have a matching shirt and short set. ADN, Jada, but ADN for short. Okay, I see that. Thank you, Scruffmeister. But yeah, we have matching men's a matching men's set and matching women's. The shorts are sick. Like I said, they come with pockets. They got that gold Trip Over Drip logo. Sick, bro. Shout out Queen Trip. She designs them all, bro. What's up, Cindy Bindi? Tripoverdrip.shop. I know y'all are looking at these Divine Feminine ones. The fire, bro. Fire. But yeah, go give ADN a follow. I'm going to share her page somehow. Let's see here. I just dropped the link to her YouTube in all the chats. Go give ADN a follow. Go hit that subscribe button so you can see when I'm on next, bro. It's gonna be fun, bro. I'm just barely breaking into this community of people, bro, that are on the internet. I'm nervous, dude. I'm fucking nervous, dude. I don't know why I'm nervous. I'm excited, but nervous at the same time, bro. But yeah, go give ADN a follow. You'll see me soon. All right, book 1. Let's bring this in close for everybody to be able to see. The apocryphal book of Enoch says that there were angels who consented to fall from heaven that they might have intercourse with the daughters of earth. We will try and figure that out, Melissa, to try and have it go on my YouTube as well. I'm not sure how that works. I'm not quite positive. I think I might have to set it up on my end. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out though for sure. Oh, she has books too? Oh, they're videos. They're books based on. Okay, I see. Yeah, so the book of Enoch says that there were angels who consented to fall from heaven that they might have intercourse with the daughters of earth. For in those days the sons of men having multiplied, there were born to them daughters of great beauty, and that the angels or sons of heaven beheld them, and they were filled with desire. Wherefore they said to one another, Come, let us choose wives from among the race of man, and let us beget children. Their leader, Samyasa, answered thereupon and said, Perchance you would be wanting in the courage needed to fulfill this resolution, and then I alone shall be answerable for your fall. But they swore that they would in no wise repent, and that they would achieve their whole design. Now there were 200 who descended on Mount Armon, and it was from this time that the mountain received its designation, which signifies the Mount of Oath. Hereinafter fellow the names of those angelic leaders who descended with this object. Samyasa, chief among all, Ur-Kabaramel, Azabil, Tamael, Ramiel, Daniel, Ezekiel, Serachiel, Asriel, Armers, Batriel, Anan, Zavabi, Samsavil, Etriel, Turil, Jomiel, Erizal. They took wives with whom they had intercourse, to whom also they taught magic, the art of enchantment, and the diverse properties of roots and trees. Interesting. Amazarak gave instruction in all secrets of sorcerers. Barkiel was the master of those who studied the stars. Akabel manifested signs, and Azradel taught the motions of the moon. The legend of the Kabbalistic Book of Enoch is a variant account of the same profanation of mysteries which we meet under another form of symbolism in the history of the sin of Adam. Those angels, the sons of God, whom Enoch speaks, were initiates of magic, and it was they communicated to profane men, using incautious women as their instruments. They split upon the rock of sense attraction, becoming enamored of the female sex, and the secrets of royalty and priesthood were extracted from them unawares. Primitive civilization collapsed as a consequence, and the giants, who typified brute force and unbridled appetite, fought together for the world, which escaped only by immersion in the water of the deluge, wherein all traces of the past were effaced. This deluge symbolized the universal confusion into which humanity is brought of necessary when it ignores and does outrage to the harmonies of nature. There is kinship between the fall, crazy, the magic head of Zohar, There is kinship between the fall of Samyasa and of that of Adam. The lure of sense seduced both. Both profaned the tree of knowledge, and both were driven far away from the tree of life. It is needless here to discuss the views, or rather the simplicity, of those who take everything literally and believe that knowledge and life were once manifested under the form of trees. Let us confess rather only to the deep meaning of sacred symbols. The tree of knowledge does actually inflict death when its fruit is eaten. That fruit is the adornment of this world. Those golden apples are the glitter of earth. Interesting. Weird. It's weird, right? Symbols everywhere. The tree of life. Remember, if you were here when we watched freaking Bible Unveiled Part 2, and they were talking about the tree of life and the tree of knowledge and the separation of those inside of the Garden of Eden, the shit gets kind of crazy, you know? Zohar, you're right. The name of the carnival machine in freaking the movie Big. I'm fucking that old, player. Big. With Tom Hanks. You all remember that movie? In the Arsenal Library, there is a very cautious manuscript entitled The Book of the Penance of Adam, and herein Kabbalistic tradition is presented under the guise of legend to the following effect. Adam had two sons, Cain, who signifies brute force, and Abel, the type of intelligence and mildness. Agreement was impossible between them. They perished at each other's hands, and their inheritance passed to the third son named Seth. Here is the conflict of two opposing forces diverted to the advantage of a synthetic and united force. Now Seth, who was permitted to approach as far as the entrance of the earthly paradise without being threatened by the cherub and his flaming sword. Weird, bro. Remember the cherubim, the cherub and his flaming sword outside of the Garden of Eden. In other words, Seth represented primeval intuition. Initiation? Yeah, initiation. Seth represented primeval initiation. It came to pass in this manner that Seth beheld the tree of knowledge and the tree of life, incorporated together after such a manner that they formed a single tree, signifying the harmony of science and religion in the transcendental Kabbalah. What the shit, boy? Poop emojis in the chat, boy. Poop emojis. And the angel gave him 3 seeds containing the vital power of the seed tree. The reference is here to the Kabbalistic triad. When Adam died, Seth, in obedience to the directions of the angels, placed 3 seeds in the mouth of his father as a token of eternal life. The saplings which sprang from these became the burning bush, in the midst of which God communicated to Moses his eternal name. What? Did you know that? I didn't know that. I didn't know that Seth, the son, planted seeds inside of Adam's mouth when Adam died, and those seeds turned into the acacia bush. The acacia bush, you know, it has DMT inside of it. That bush burned, didn't it? Well, what if that bush burned and Moses inhaled DMT? Weird. Moses plucked a triple branch of the sacred bush and used it as his miraculous wand. Okay, now this is where shit starts to get fucked up. You're telling me Adam and Eve had Cain and Abel. Obviously, Cain killed Abel, and then Cain was outcast and went and built the first civilization, actually. But they had another son named Seth. And then this son named Seth, when Adam died, planted 3 seeds inside of his mouth. Those seeds then grew into the burning bush, which then Moses took a branch off of that bush and created a wand, a miraculous wand. So the tree of life and the tree of knowledge and another seed that grew a bush out of Adam's body was also the burning bush for Moses, what was also Adam's wand. Although separated from its root, the branch continued to live and blossom, and it was subsequently preserved in the ark. Like Noah's ark? King David planted the branch on Mount Zion, and Solomon took wood from each section of the triple trunk to make the two pillars, Jachin and Boaz. Interesting. There's the Freemasonic stuff, right? Which were placed at the entrance of Solomon's temple. They were covered with bronze, and the third section was inserted at the threshold of the chief gate. It was a talisman which hindered things unclean from entering within, but certain nefarious Levites removed during the night this obstacle to their unholy freedom and cast it, loaded with stones, at the bottom of the temple reservoir. From this time forward, an angel of God troubled the waters of the pool, imparting to them a miraculous value, so that men might be distracted from seeking the tree of Solomon in its depths. In the days of Jesus Christ, the pool was cleansed, and the Jews, finding the beam of wood, which in their eyes seemed useless, carried later outside the town and threw it across the brook Cedron. It was over this bridge that our Savior passed after his arrest at night in the Garden of Eden, or the Garden of Olives, excuse me. His executioners cast him from it into the water, and then in their haste to prepare the instrument in chief of his passion, they took the beam with them, which that was made of 3 kinds of wood, and formed the cross. What? You're telling me? You're fucking telling me, bro, that this same wood that made Moses' wand, that came from the burning bush, that grew out of Adam's body, was the same exact wood that they put Jesus on when they put him on the cross. The cross was made out of this wood. That seems fucking kind of mind-blowing, actually. What the fuck? Jeez Louise, bro. This allegory embodies all of the great traditions of the Kabbalah and the secret Christian doctrine of St. John, which is now utterly unknown. It follows that Seth, Moses, David, Solomon, and Christ obtained from the same Kabbalistic tree their royal scepters and pontifical crooks. We can understand in this matter why the Christ was adorned in his major by the Magi. I'm telling you, seems pretty insane. Magi, magician, right? We all can acknowledge that wizards showed up to Jesus' birth. That's what Magoi is, magi. Let us recur, however, to the book of Enoch, as greater authority attaches to it than can be attributed to an unknown manuscript. The former is cited in the New Testament by the apostle St. Jude. Tradition refers the invention of letters to Enoch, and it is to him that we must therefore trace back the teachings embodied in the Sefer Yetzirah, which is the elementary work of the Kabbalah, its compiler, according to the rabbins, being the patriarch Abraham as their heir of the secrets of Enoch and as the father of initiation in Israel. Enoch would seem in this manner to be identical with the Egyptian Hermes Trismegistus, the famous book of Thoth, written therefore in hieroglyphics and in numbers, would be that occult Bible anterior to the book of Moses and full of mysteries, to which the initiated William Postel alludes so frequently throughout his works under the title of Genesis of Enoch. Okay, so Enoch was Hermes Trismegistus, huh? Fuck, it's all tied into Hermeticism too, bro. What in the shit, bro? We just jam-packed all of this shit into one, bro. We've got fucking, like, what's going on with Kabbalah and Hermes Trismegistus and Jesus, bro. They're all connected. The Bible says that Enoch did not die, but that God translated him from one life to another. He is to return a confound antichrist at the end of time. Wait, Wait, what? Enoch is the Antichrist? What did anyone else learn that? The Bible says that Enoch did not die, but that God translated him from one life to another, and that he is to return and confound Antichrist at the end of time. When he be one of the last martyrs or witnesses of truth mentioned in the Apocalypse of St. John, that which is said of Enoch in this respect has been said also of all the great initiators recorded in Kabbalism. St. John himself, according to primitive Christians, was saved from death. It was long thought that he could be seen breathing in his tomb. The explanation is that the absolute science of life preserves against death, as the instinct of the people has always led them to divine. However, this may be the extant memorials of Enoch are contained in two books, which one of which is hieroglyphic and the other of the nature of allegory. The first comprises of heretic keys of initiation, while the second is the history of great profanation which caused the destruction of the world and the reign of chaos after the giants. We got giants in here too, bro. What the fuck is this book? I don't know if you guys are really watching a fucking real crash out right now. Like, what the fuck are we reading? Oh, fuck. I gotta take a little break for a second, dude. This is like the first chapter, bro. Saint Methodist, a bishop in the early days of Christianity whose writings are found in the collection of the Fathers of the Church, has left a prophetic apocalypse which unfolds the world's history in a series of visions. It is not included among the saints' acknowledged writings, but it is preserved by the Gnostics and has been printed in the Liber Mirabilis under the assumed name of Bermecubus, which illiterate compositors have substituted in place of Bay Methodist, an abbreviation of Beatus Methodist. This book corresponds in several respects with the allegory treatise entitled The Penance of Adam. It tells how Seth migrated eastward with his family so reached a mountain in the vicinity of earthly paradise. This was the contrary of initiates, whilst the prosperity of Cain invented Asclepius or debased magic in India, the land of fratricide, and put witchcraft into the hands of the reckless. It seems insane, bro. Saint Methodist predicts in a later place the struggles and successive predominance of the Ishmaelites, being the name given in his apocalypse to those who conquered the Romans, of the Franks who overcame the Ishmaelites, and then a great race of the north whose invasion will precede the personal reign of Antichrist. And universal kingdom will be founded thereafter and will fall into the hands of a French prince. Oh no, Macron, President Macron. It's happening. After which there will be a reign of justice for a long period of years. We are not concerned with prophecy in the present place, but it is desirable to note the distinction between good and evil magic, between the sanctuary of sons of Seth and the profanation of science by the descendants of Cain. Wait a second. Let me read that again. Between the sanctuary of sons of Seth and the profanation of science by the descendants of Cain. Does that mean, it's like trust the experts, trust the science. They're trying to use science every day and technology to discredit our connection to source or God or nature or magic. I guess if we're making it applicable to what we're reading. Transcendental knowledge as a fact is reserved for those who are masters of their passions, and virgin nature does not deliver the keys of her nuptial chamber to adulterers. Transcendental magic as a fact is reserved for those who are masters of their passion, and virgin nature does not deliver the keys of her nuptial chamber to adulterers. There are two classes, free men and slaves. Man is born in the bondage of his passions, but he can reach emancipation through intelligence. Between those who are freely already and those who are yet are not there is equally possible. The part of reason is to rule and of instinct to obey. On the other hand, if you impose on the blind the office of leading the blind, both will end in the abyss. We should never forget that liberty does not consist in the license of passion emancipated from law. Dang, bars, right? Bars. We should never forget that liberty does not consist in the license of passion emancipated from the law, which license would prove that most hideous of tyrannies. Liberation consists in willing obedience to law. It is the right to do one's duty, and only just man can be called free. Now, those who are in liberation should govern those who are in bondage. And slaves are called to be released, not from government of the free, but from the yoke of brutal passions, as a consequence of which they cannot exist without masters. Confess with us now, for a moment, to the truth of the transcendental sciences. Suppose there does actually exist a force which can be mastered and by which of the mirror. Suppose there does actually exist a force which can be mastered and by which the miracles of nature are made subservient to the will of man. That sounds like magic to me. Is that magic to you? I do suppose that there is actually a force that can be mastered. Tell us in such case whether the secrets of wealth and the bonds of sympathy can be entrusted to brutal greed, the art of fascination to libertines, the supremacy over others' will to those who cannot attain the government of their proper slaves. It is terrifying to reflect upon the disorders which would follow from such a profanation. Some cataclysm is needed to efface the crimes of earth when all are steeped in the slime and in blood. What the shit? Now, it is this state of things that is indicated by the allegory history of the fall of angels according to the book of Enoch. It is this which is the sin of Adam, and hereof are the fatal consequences. Of such also was the deluge and the wreckage. Of such at a later period of malediction of the malediction of Canaan. The revelation of occult secrets is typified by the insolence of the son who exposes his father's nakedness. The intoxication of Noah is a lesson for the priesthood of all ages. Woe to those who lay bare the secret of divine generation to the impure gaze of the crowd. What does that mean? It says, woe to those who lay bare the secret of divine generation to the impure gaze of the crowd. It's like, does that mean like, sorry for those people who give the secrets to the impure crowd? Keep the sanctuary shut, all ye who would spare your sleeping father, the mockery of the imitators of Ham. Who the fuck is Ham? Please break down these few sentences for me. The intoxication of Noah is a lesson for the priesthood of all ages. Woe to those who lay bare the secret of divine generation to the impure gaze of the crowd. Keep the sanctuary shut, all ye who would spare your sleeping father, the mockery of the imitators of Ham.
Sure, let me break that down quickly. First, the intoxication of Noah is a lesson for the priesthood of all ages, means Noah getting drunk is seen as a cautionary example for religious leaders throughout history. Next, woe to those who lay bare the secret of divine generation to the impure gaze of the crowd, warns against exposing sacred, spiritual mysteries to people who might not respect or understand them. Finally, keep the sanctuary shut, all ye who would spare your sleeping father the mockery of the imitators of Ham, advises keeping sacred places protected to avoid bringing shame or ridicule. Using the story of Ham mocking his father Noah as a reference.
It's the creation of these secret societies, bro. This is the foundational work. You know what I'm saying? Can we get some aliens in the chat if you agree, bro? Such is the tradition of the children of Seth, respecting the laws of the human hierarchy, but the latter were not acknowledged by the family of Cain. The Canaanites of India invented a Genesis to consecrate the oppression of the strong and perpetuate the ignorance of the weak. Initiation became an exclusive privilege of the high castes. The entire races of humanity were doomed to unending servitude on the pretense of inferior birth. They issued as it was said from the feet or knees of Brahma. Now, nature engenders neither slaves nor kings. Who pretends that man is perfect at birth but is degraded and perverted by society is the wildest of anarchists. Let's see here. He who pretends that man is perfect at birth, but is degraded and perverted by society is the wildest of anarchists, though he may be the most poetic of maniacs. But in vain was Jean-Jacques, the sentimentalist and dreamer. His deep implicit of misanthropy was explicated by the logic of fanatical partisans bore fruits in hate and destruction. The consistent architects of the utopia imagined by the susceptible philosopher of Geneva were Robespierre and Maratha. Marathi da papa. Society is no abstract personality that can be rendered responsible separately for the stubbornness of man. Society is the association of men. It is defective by reason of their vices and sublime in respect of their virtues. But it itself is holy, like the religion which is bound up inseparable therewith. Is not religion as most generous endeavors? After this manner does the blasphemy of anti-social equality and of right in the teeth of duty give answer to the lie about caste privileged by nature? Christianity alone has solved the problem by assigning supremacy to self-sacrifice and by proclaiming him as the greatest who offers up his pride for society, his appetites for the sake of law. Though they were the depositories of the tradition of Seth, the Jews did not preserve it in all its purity and were infected by the unjust ambitions of the posterity of Cain. Believing that they were a chosen people, they deemed that God had allotted them truth as a patrimony rather than as a security held in trust for humanity at large. Side by side with the sublime traditions of the Zephyr Yetzirah, we meet with very curious revelations among the Talmudists. It's all connected, bro. It's all connected, bro. Can you? It just seems crazy to me, bro. To be 100% honest with you, it's talking about like Cain and Abel and Seth and Jesus and magic and giants and Jews. For example, they do not shrink from ascribing the idolatry of the Gentiles to the patriarch Abraham himself. They say that to the Israelites he bequeathed his inheritance, namely the knowledge of the true divine names. In a word, the Kabbalah was the lawful and hereditary property of Isaac. But the patriarch gave, as they tell us, certain presents to the children of his concubines, and by such presents they understood veiled dogmas and cryptic names which became materialized speedily and were transformed into idols. False religions and their absurd mysteries, oriental superstitions, with all their horrible sacrifices. What a gift from a father to his disowned family. Was it not sufficient to drive Hagar with her son into the desert? To their one loaf and their pitcher of water must he add the burden of falsehood as a torment and poison in their exile? The glory of Christianity is that it called all men to truth without distinction of race and castes, though not with distinction in respect of intelligence and of virtue. Cast not your perils before swine, said the divine founder of Christianity, lest treading them underfoot they turn and rend you. The Apocalypse or Revelation of St. John, which comprises all the Kabbalistic secrets concerning the doctrine of Christ Jesus, is a book no less obscured than the Zohar. It is written hieroglyphically in the language of numbers and images, and the apostle appeals frequently to the knowledge of initiates. Let him understand who has knowledge. Let him who understands compute. He says frequently after reciting an allegory or giving a mystic number, Saint John, the beloved disciple and depository of all the secrets of the Savior, did not therefore write to be understood by the multitude. Of the multitude. The Sefer Yetzirah, the Zohar, and the Apocalypse are the masterpieces of occultism. They contain more meaning than words. Their method of expression is figurative like poetry and exact like numerical formula. The Apocalypse summarizes, completes, and surpasses all the science of Abraham and Solomon, as we will prove by explaining the keys of the transcendent Kabbalah. It is not less astonishing to observe at the beginning of the Zohar the profundity of its notions and the sublime simplicity of its images. It is said as follows: the science of equilibrium is the key to occult science. Unbalanced forces perish in the world. So pass the kings under the elder world, the princes of giants. They have fallen like trees without roots, and their place is found no more. Through the conflict of unbalanced forces, the devastated earth was void and formless until the Spirit of God made for himself a place in heaven and reduced the mass of waters. All the aspirations of nature were directed then towards unity of form, towards the living synthesis of the equilibrated forces. The face of God, crowned with light, rose over the vast sea and was reflected in the waters thereof. His two eyes were manifested, radiating with splendor, darting two beams of light which crossed with those of the reflection. The brow of God and his eyes formed a triangle in heaven. See, it's all sacred geometry, bro. Why would he form it's trigonometry? Sacred trigonometry. Crazy. The brow of God and his eyes formed a triangle in heaven, and its reflection formed a second triangle in the waters. So was revealed the number 6, being that of universal creation. I don't know who's here, bro, but this shit is kind of crazy. Yes? No? The text, which would be unintelligible in a literal version, is translated here by way of interpretation. The author makes it plain that the human form which he ascribes to deity is only an image of his meaning, and that God is beyond expression by human thought or representation by any figure. Pascal said that God is a circle, of which the center is everywhere and the circumference nowhere. But how is one to imagine a circle apart from its circumference? The Zohar adopts the antithesis of this paradoxical image in respect of the circle of Pascal would say rather that the circumference is everywhere, while that which is nowhere is the center. It is, however, to a balance and not to a circle that it compares the universal equilibrium of things. Crazy. What the shit are we tapping into, bro? What the shit are we tapping into? The Kabbalistic symbol of the Zohar. It affirms that equilibrium is everywhere, and so also is that center point where the balance hangs in suspension. We find that the Zohar is thus more forcible and more profound than Pascal. The author continues as follows his sublime dream. That synthesis of the word formulated by the human figure ascended slowly and emerged from the water like the sun in its rising. When the eyes appeared, light was made. When the mouth was manifested, there was the creation of spirits, and the word passed into expression. The entire head was revealed, and this completed the first day of creation. The shoulders, the arms, the breast arose, and thereupon work began. With one hand, the divine image put back the sea, while with the other hand, it raised up continents and mountains. The image grew and grew. The generative organs appeared, and all beings began to increase and multiply. The form stood at length erect, having 1 foot upon the earth and 1 upon the waters, beholding itself at the full length in the ocean of creation. It breathed on its own reflection and called its likeness into life. It said, "Let us make men," and thus man was made. There is nothing so beautiful in the masterpiece of any poet as this vision of creation accomplished by the prototype of humanity. Hereby is man but the shadow of a shadow, and yet he is the image of divine power. He also can stretch forth his hands from east to west. To him is the earth given as a dominion. Such is Adam Kadamon, the premortal Adam of the Kabbalists. Kadamon? Weird. Anybody heard this, bro? Anyone heard the Kadamon is Adam's name to the Kabbalists? Such is the sense in which he is depicted as a giant. And this is why Swedenborg, haunted in his dreams by reminiscence of the Kabbalah, says that the entire creation is only a titanic man and that we are made in the image of the universe. The Zohar is the genesis of light. The Sefer Yetzirah is the ladder of truth. Therein are expounded the 2 and 30 absolute symbols of speech, being numbers and letters. Each letter produces a number, an idea, and a form, so that mathematics are applicable to forms and ideas, even as to the numbers, in virtue of the exact proportion and a perfect correspondence. By the science of the Sefer Yetzirah, the human mind is rooted in truth and in reason. It accounts for all progress possible to intelligence by means of the evolution of numbers. Thus does the Zohar represent absolute truth, while the Sefer Yetzirah furnishes the method of its acquisition, its discernment, and application. Oh my goodness, bro. Gematria, bro. We're on page 99. Do you guys want to keep reading Magic of the Magi? I think it's got Hermes right here, Aristotle, Thoth. Do you guys want to keep reading? Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat, bro, because I'm going to have to come up over here, bro. I'm going to have to show you something over here, bro. What he's fucking talking about, bro. It equals 170. All of these letters attribute to a certain number. Whoever comments the most poop emojis in the next 30 seconds, I'll put their name inside of here. Crazy. Watch this. Scruff. 73. Queen. Trip. 125. Monica. 55. Trevor. 98. Julia. 53. Melissa. 78. Sauron. 88. Kimberly. 95. It's connected to everything, bro. There's numbers everywhere, bro. There's numbers everywhere, bro. The history of magic, everybody. Okay. Water Woman Kimberly. Let's see. We'll do this for you, Kimberly. $2.28. Can we all acknowledge that letters connect to words? I mean, to numbers. It's pretty insane, right? So we have. I mean, not only are we like trying, we're like this book is insane, bro. It's insane, right? Like it's not just me sitting here like reading every page, going, "What the fuck am I reading? What the fuck is this? What have we discovered, bro?" It is within probability that Zoroaster is the symbolical name like that of Thoth or Hermes. According to the Exodus and Aristotle, he flourished 6,000 years before the birth of Plato. But others say that he is annotated the siege of Troy about 500 years. He is sometimes represented as a king of the Bactrians, but the existence of 2 or 3 distinct Zoroasters is also one of the speculations. Check this out. Ready for this? You ready for this? Isn't Zoroastrianism the oldest religion on planet Earth?
From what I found, Zoroastrianism is indeed among the oldest surviving religions, often cited as the oldest monotheistic faith. It originated more than 3,000 years ago. However, the question of the oldest religion overall is complex.
It's old. Zoroastrianism. That's who they're talking about. Zoroaster. Exodus and Aristotle alone would seem to have realized that Exodus and Aristotle alone would seem to have realized that his personality was magic, and this is why they have placed the Kabbalistic epoch of an entire world between the birth of his doctrine and the Thurgic reign of Platonic philosophy. As a fact, there are 2 Zoroasters, that is to say, 2 expounders of mystery, one being the son of Ormuzd and the founder of enlightened instruction, and the other being the son of Abraham. Rahman, and the author of the profanatory unveiling of truth. Zoroaster is the incarnate word of the Chaldeans, the Medes, and the Persians. His legend reads like a prophecy concerning that of Christ. And hence it must be assumed that he had also his Antichrist in accordance with the magical law and universal equilibrium. So is that like the law of polarity? Is that what he's talking about? It's like Hermetic principles talking about the law of correspondence and the law of polarity in their wording as the magical law of universal equilibrium. To the false Zoroaster must be referred to cultus of material fire and that impious doctrine of divine dualism, which produced at a later period the monstrous gnosis of Manes and the false principles of Serpius Masonry. We got Freemasons in here too, bro. The Zoroaster in question was the father of the materialized magic which led to the massacre of the Magi and brought their true doctrine at first into prescription and then oblivion. That's crazy. The Zoroastrians destroyed the magic, bro. The ancient Irish, the Atlanteans. I don't know what you've been told, bro. But my brain is vibrating, dude. We got fucking the Kabbalah in here. We got Masonry in here. We got Jesus in here. We got magic in here. We got fucking giants in here. Ever inspired by the spirit of truth, the church was compelled to condemn under the names of magic, Manichaeism, Illuminism, and Masonry. All that was in kinship, remote, and approximate with the primitive profanation of the mysteries. I'm sure of it. Thank you, Water Woman Kimberly. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you want to join the stream where everybody's at, there is a link pinned to the top of the YouTube chat that will take you to Kick. Kick is just another streaming platform that cares about its content creators and gives their content creators more money than the other platforms. Basically, there's no ads. There's no nothing. Everything that's made on Kick, the subscriptions, is all just from the lovely, generous place in your heart. Kick's where it's at. Kick's where everybody is. YouTube only has, I'm thinking, like one person. They're saying on YouTube that Facebook is freezing up because we're fucking talking about some crazy shit, bro. Are we not? Are we not talking? This book is talking about some crazy shit. All that was in kinship, remote or approximate, with the primitive profanation of the mysteries. One signal example is the history of the Knights Templar, which has been misunderstood to this day. The doctrines of the true Zoroaster are identical with those of pure Kabbalism, and his conceptions of divinity differ in no wise from those of the fathers of the church. It is those names only that vary. For example, the triad of Zoroaster is the trinity of Christian teaching. And when he postulates the triad as subsiding without diminution or division in each of its units, he is expressing in another manner that which is understood by our theologians as the circumcision of the divine person. The circumcision of the divine person. In his multiplication of the triad by itself, Zoroaster arrives at the absolute reason of the number 9 and the universal key of all numbers and forms. But those whom we term the 3 divine persons are called the 3 depths of Zoroaster. The first, or that of the Father, is the source of faith. The second, being that of the Word, is the well of truth, while the third, or creative action, is the front of love. Oh, let me read that one more time. The first of this Zoroaster triad, which this book is connecting to the Holy Trinity of Christianity. The first is that of the Father, is the source of faith. The second, being that of the Word, is the well of truth, while the third, or creative action, is the front of love. To check where is here advanced, the reader may consult the commentary of Pacellus on the doctrine of the ancient Assyrians. It may be found in the work of Franciscus Patrius on philosophical magic, page 24 of the Hamburg edition, which appeared in 1593. Zoroaster established the celestial hierarchy and all the harmonies of nature on his scale of 9 degrees. He explains by the means of the triad whosoever inanimates from the idea, and by the tetrad all that belongs to form, thus arriving at the number 7 as the type of creation. There's the number 7 again. The number 7 has been following me ever since I watched Bible Unveiled, bro. Here ends the first initiation and the scholastic hypothesis begin. Numbers are personified and ideas passed into emblems, which at a later period became idols. The Sanokis, the Tetrarch, and the fathers, ministers of the triple Hecate. Wait a second. Hecate. Where have I seen Hecate? Hecate. What about Jesus, Hecate? Come on, bring it up here. There's some Jesus ones I want to show you. Sorry, dealing with my kids again. She is the goddess of the underworld, but there were some Jesus ones, bro. There were some Jesus ones. I got to find it. I got to pull it up in my phone. I got to show you the Jesus ones. I did a little video of it. Little video of it. We can actually go on YouTube right here, actually, and find it on my shorts. Right here. Ready? Boom, hit Tripoverdrip. Boom, come up over here to shorts. Boom, I'll be able to pull it up right when I see it. Right here. Yeah, right here. Whoa, let me pause this up.
Come outside.
Whoa. Where'd it go?
Come out.
Right here. How do I mute this? Mute it. Right here. I love you. Boom, right there. Hecate Jesus. Hecate Jesus. Hecate Jesus. Hecate Jesus. Just wanted to show you that. Sorry. Sorry, guys. Sorry for my little tangent for Hecate Jesus. But that's where I heard the old Hecate. Hecate. The three Amalekites and the threefold vistage of Hypezokastos. Let's actually ask that real quick. How does Hecate relate to Pluto?
Hecate and Pluto, also known as Hades in Greek myth, are connected through their roles in the underworld. Pluto is the ruler of the underworld and husband to Persephone, while Hecate is a chthonic goddess associated with magic, witchcraft, and liminal spaces, often serving as a guide or companion in the underworld. Sources suggest that Hecate may have been an earlier ruler of the underworld, and she is often linked to Persephone and Demeter, forming a supporting triad in myths about the underworld. While Hecate doesn't directly rule alongside Pluto, she has a close association with the underworld and its deities.
Interesting. She's like Hecate is like Hades. All these intervene. The angels follow in their order, the demons, and lastly, human souls. The stars are images and reflections of intellectual splendors. The material sun is an emblem of the sun of truth, which itself is a shadow of that first source whence all glory springs. This is why the disciples of Zoroaster saluted the rising day and so passed as sun worshippers among barbarians. Yep, the Amalekites. The blood lickers. You're right. The Khazarian Mafia. That's going to be a term that gets me flagged. Fuck you. The blood lickers. Such were the doctrines of the Magi, but they were the possessors in addition of secrets which gave them mastery over the occult powers of nature. The sum of these secrets might be termed transcendental pyrotechny, for it is intimately related to the deep knowledge of fire and its ruling. It is certain that the Magi were not only familiar with electricity, but were able to generate and direct it in ways that are unknown. Numa, who studied their rites and was initiated into their mysteries, possessed, and according to Lucius Pison, the art of producing and controlling the lightning. This sacerdotal secret, which the Roman initiator would have reserved to the king of Rome, was lost by Tullus Hostilius, who mismanaged the electrical discharge and was destroyed. Pliny relates these facts on the authority of an ancient Etruscan tradition and mentions that Numa directed his battery with success against a monster named Volta, which was ravaging the district about Rome. Wait a second. Can you please tell me the story of Numa directing his battery towards a monster named Volta?
Sure, I want to clarify. It sounds like you're referring to an event or story involving characters named Numa and Volta.
In Rome, yes.
Got it. You're asking about Numa Pompilius, the legendary second king of Rome. He was known for establishing many religious and cultural institutions. I'm not aware of a story where he directs a battery toward a monster named Volta.
I'm literally reading it from the History of Magic written in 1913. On page 55, it says Numa directed his battery with success against a monster named Volta, which was ravaging the district about Rome.
I see. Thank you for sharing that. It sounds like you're reading a historical account from a book written in 1913.
A historical account. Did you hear that? He said it himself. Fuck you, Perplexity. A historical account. Not a fabricated account. Not a fucking conspiracy. A historical account. In reading this story, one is almost tempted to think that Volta, the discoverer, is himself a myth, and that the name of Voltic piles goes back to the days of Numa. All Assyrian symbols connect with this science of fire, which was the great secret of the Magi. On every side, we meet with the enchanter who slays the lion and controls the serpents. The lion is the celestial fire, while the serpents are the electrical and magnetic currents of the earth. To this same great secret of the Magi are referable all marvels of Hermetic magic. What in the fuck? I'm telling you, I never read nothing like this in my entire life, bro. Like, I feel like I've been learning about all sorts of things over the last few years, and I'm like reading a book that talks about all of it. It seems crazy to me. The extant traditions of which still bear witness that the mystery of the great work consists in the ruling of fire. The learned patrician, the learned Patrictius, published in his philosophical magic, the oracles of Zoroaster, collected from the works of Platonic writers, from Proclus on Thurgy, from the commentaries on the Parmenides, commentaries of Hermias on the Phaedrus, and from the notes of Olympodorus on the Philebois and the Phadion. These oracles are firstly a clear and precise formulation of the doctrine here stated, and secondly a prescriptions of magical ritual expressed in such terms as follows: demons and sacrifice. Bro, are you guys ready for this? You guys are like in real time catching a freaking download, bro. It's kind of crazy. Like, I keep saying this, bro, because I'm actually genuinely I'll tell you the truth, bro. We read the introduction, bro, the introduction to this book, and it was so hard for me to like fully grasp what was being said, but I'm understanding way more in this first chapter, bro. This is the first chapter, bro. Or first book out of 7 in this book. There's the number 7 again. We are taught by induction from nature that there are incorporeal demons, and that the germs of evil which exist in matter turn to the common good and utility. But these are mysteries which must be buried in the recess of thought. Forever agitated and ever leaping in the atmosphere, the fire can assume a configuration like that of bodies. Let us go further and affirm the existence of a fire which abounds in images and reflections. Term it, if you will, as supra-abundant light, which radiates. Let me say that again. Term it, if you will, a superabundant light which radiates, which speaks, which goes back into itself. It is the flaming courser of light, or rather it is the stalwart child who overcomes and breaks in that heavenly steed. Picture him as a vested flame and emblazoned with gold, or think of him naked as love and bearing arrows of Eros. By if thy meditation prolongeth itself, thou wilt combine all these emblems under the form of the lion. Thereafter, when things are no longer visible, when the vault of heaven and the expanse of the universe have dissolved, when the stars have ceased to shine and the lamp of the moon is veiled, when the earth trembles and the lightning plays around, invoke not the visible phantom of nature's soul, for thou must be in no wise behold it until thy body has been purified by the holy ordeals. Enervators, enervators of souls, which they distract from sacred occupations, the dog-faced demons issue from the confines of matter and expose to mortal eyes the semblances of illusionary bodies, labor round the circles described by the rhombus of Hecate. Change thou nothing in this barbarous names of evocation, for they are pantheistic titles of God. They are magnetized by the devotion of multitudes, and their power is ineffable. When after all the phantoms thou shalt behold the shining of that incorporeal fire. Incorporeal. I want to know what that word means. It keeps saying it. What does the word incorporeal mean? When it, like, let's say it's incorporeal fire.
The word incorporeal means having no material body or physical form, essentially something immaterial or bodiless.
Incorporeal. Incorporeal. Shalt behold the shinings of that incorporeal fire, that sacred fire that darts of which penetrate in every direction through the depths of the world. Hearken the words of the fire. These astonishing sentences, which are taken from the Latin of Patricus, embody the secrets of magnetism and of things far deeper, which it is not entered into the heart of the people like Dupotent. I thought I said DuPont right there. I was about to trip the fuck out. And Mesmer to conceive. We find the astral light described perfectly together with its power of producing fluidic forms, of reflecting language and echoing voice. The will of the adept signified by the stalwart child mounted on a white horse. A symbol met with an ancient tarot card preserved in the Bibliothèque Nationale. Bibliothèque Nationale. Isn't that kind of crazy right there when it says, though? We find the astral light described perfectly together with its power of producing fluidic forms, of reflecting language and echoing the voice. It's like right there, it's telling us that creation is all light and vibration, bro. Maybe that's just me reading too much into it. The dangers of hallucination arising from misdirected magical work. The raison d'etre, I don't know, I think that's how it says, of enchantments accomplished by the use of barbarous names and words. The magnetic instrument termed rhombos, which is comparable to the child's humming top. The term of magical practice, which is the stilling of imagination and of the senses into the state of complete somnambulism and perfect lucidity. It follows from this revelation of the ancient world that clairvoyant exists is a voluntary and immediate application of the soul to the universal fire. or rather to that light abounding in images, which radiates, which speaks and circulates above all objects in every sphere of the universe. This application is operated by the persistence of will liberated from the senses and fortified by the succession of tests. Herein consisted the beginning of the magical initiation. Having obtained the power of direct reading in the light, the adept became a seer or prophet. Then, having established communication between this light and his own will, he learned to direct the former, even as the head of an arrow is set in a certain direction. He communicated at his pleasure either strife or peace to the souls of other. He established intercourse at a long distance with those fellow adepts whose were his peers, and in fine, he availed himself of that force which is represented by the celestial lion. Crazy. I'm gathering right here. It's basically saying that clairvoyance is real and that once you see the light and then add your own intention and your will, you can then communicate your pleasure or peace to the souls of others. That's interesting. Herein lies the meaning of those great Assyrian figures which hold vanquished lions in their arms. The astral light is otherwise represented by gigantic sphinxes, having the bodies of lions and the head of a magi. Wait a second. You're telling me that the Sphinx in Egypt that potentially had a different head put on it could potentially have been a statue of the Magi, considered as an instrument made subject to magical power? The astral light is that golden sword of Mithra used in his emmanuelation of the sacred bull, and it is the arrow of Fabius who pierced the serpent Python. Mithra. Wait a second. Mithra? Do we have to do this again? Mithras? You're talking about Mithras? This god that's right outside of our country? Mithras. Oh, you don't believe me? Okay, we'll just go back and we'll just look at Mithras, okay? We'll just look at Mithras. Sure, whatever. You can say that it's not this thing. You could say that. That's fine. Give me some images. Mithras. It's not. There it is. Oh, there it is. Oh, Mithras with the bull killing the bull. It's got the serpent and the dog. You know. Oh yeah, there he is. There it is. There's the ancient Mithras looking like motherfucking Statue of Liberty. You know. Let us now reconstruct in thought the great metropolitan cities of Assyria, Babylon, and Nevaeh. Let us restore to their proper place the granite colossi. Let us formulate the massive temples held up by elephants and sphinxes. Let us raise once more those obelisks from which dragons look down with shining eyes and wings outspread. What the fuck? Dragons too, bro? Temples and places tower above these wondrous piles, forever concealed, but manifested also ever by the fact of their miracles. The priesthood and the royalty, like visible divinities of earth, abide therein. The temple is surrounded with clouds or glows within supernatural brilliance at the wall of the priest. Now it is dark in the daylight, and again the night is enlightened. The lamps of the temple spring themselves into flame. The gods are radiant. The thunder rolls, and woe to the impious impious person who may have invoked on his own head the maledictation of initiates. The temples protect the places, and the king's retainers do battle for the religion of the Magi. The monarch himself is sacred. He is a god on earth. The people lie prone as he passes. The maniac who would attempt to cross the threshold of his palace died immediately by the intervention of the invisible hand, and without stroke of mace or sword. He is slain as if by the bolt, blasted by the fire from heaven. What religion and what power! How mighty are the shadows of Nimrod, Belus, and Semiramis. What can surpass these almost fabulous cities with such mighty royalties were enthroned, these capitals of giants, capitals of magicians, of personalities identified by tradition with angels and still termed sons of gods or princes of heaven? What mysteries have been put to sleep in those sculptures of our past nations? And are we better than the children when we exalt our enlightenment and our progress without recalling those startling memorials? In his work on magic, M. Dupotet affirms with a certainty that it is possible to overwhelm a living being by a current magnetic fluid. Wait a second. Affirms with a certain timidity that it is possible to overwhelm a living being by a current of magnetic fluid. Magical power extends beyond this limit, but is not confined within the measures of a putative magnetic fluid. The astral light as a whole, that element of electricity of lightning, can be placed at the deposition of human will. What must be done, however, to acquire this formidable power? Zoroaster has just told us we must know those mysterious laws of equilibrium which subjugate the very powers of evil to the empire of good. We must have purified our bodies by sacred trials, must have conquered the phantoms of hallucination and taken hold boldly of the light. Imitating Jacob in his struggle with the angel, we must have vanquished those fantastic dogs which howl in the world of dreams. In a world, and to use the forcible expression of the oracle, we must have heard the light speak. When we are then its masters and can direct it, as Numa did, against the enemies of the holy mysteries. But if in the absence of perfect purity, and if under the government of some animal passion by which we are still subjugated to the fatalities of the tempestuous life, we proceed to this kind of work, the fire which will kindle and will consume ourselves. Crazy. But if in the absence of perfect purity, and if under the government of some animal passion by which we are still subjugated to the fatalities of the tempestuous life, we proceed to this kind of work, the fire which will kindle will consume ourselves. We shall fall victims to the serpent which we unloose, and shall perish like Talus Hostilicis. It is not in the conformity with the laws of nature for man is to be devoured by wild beasts. God has armed him with the power of resistance. His eyes can fascinate them, his voice restrain, his sign bring them to pause. We know indeed as a literal fact that the most savage animals quail before a steady human glance and seem to tremble at a human voice. What? It's pretty crazy to hear, actually, because there is like some sort of, I don't know, how do you say? There's a power that us humans have, like a specific power in this realm that we live in, this Earth planet that we reside in. We have some sort of, I don't want to say superiority. I don't want to say that word because then A lot of people think that if, because humans have a superiority complex and they think that we're the ones that are ruling the planet, that we just have the ability to just cut down the trees and destroy the planet and kill all the animals. That's not at all what I'm trying to say. The explanation is that they are paralyzed and awestrucken by the projection of astral light. What? That's kind of, we're just sitting here thinking about it. The explanation is that they are paralyzed and awestrucken by the projections of the astral light. So like they are starstruck when they see the resemblance of God. Does that kind of makes crazy sense, right? When Daniel was accused of impostor and false magic, both he and his accusers were subjected by the king of Babylon to the ordeal of lions. Such beasts attack those only who fear them, or whom would they themselves afraid. It is utterly certain that the tiger will recede before the magnetic glance of a brave man, although the latter may be disarmed. The Magi utilized this power, and the kings of Assyria kept tigers, leopards, and lions in their garden in a state of docility. Isn't that true? We are stewards to the earth. That's what I believe. I agree with you, Scruffmeister, that the human race has been put on planet Earth to be stewards to this beautiful garden that we live inside. Because it really is a garden. But it's kind of crazy to think about. Really, if you go back to like these tales of emperors or rulers, they have lots of imagery of like big cats, like around them, like Cleopatra, right? Isn't she like connected with like had a leopard or like a jaguar or something? But it does make sense. The Magi, also I'll read it again. The Magi utilized this power, and the kings of Assyria kept tigers, leopards, and lions in their garden. Others were reserved in vaults beneath the temple for the use in the ordeals of initiation. The symbolic bas reliefs are the proof. They depict trials of strength between man and animal, and the adept, clothed in his priestly garb, controls the brutes by a glance of his eye and stays them with his hand. When such animals are depicted in one of the forms ascribed to the Sphinx, they are doubtless symbolical, but in other representations, the brute is of natural order, and then the struggle seems to illustrate a theory of actual enchantment. Magic is a science. To abuse it is to lose it, and it is also to destroy oneself. The kings and the priests of the Assyrian world were too great to be free from this danger. If ever they fall, as a fact, pride did come upon them, and they did therefore fall. Who do we got up in here? You guys still here? If you're here, can you just say hi? Maybe drop your location. Maybe just put some Team Humans in the chat. It does make that... This last line really just actually hit me. Magic is a science. To abuse it is to lose it, and it is also to destroy one's self. The kings and priests of the Assyrian world were far too great to be free from this danger. If they ever fall, as a fact, pride did come upon them, and they did therefore fall. The great magical epoch of Chaldea is anterior to the reigns of Semiramis and Ninus. At this time, religion had begun already to materialize and idolatry to prevail. The cultus of Astarte succeeded that of the heavenly Venus, and royalty aggregated to itself divine attributes under the names of Baal or Bel or Belsus. There's the ball. We're playing ball now. We're up in here. Shit, my dude. At this time, religion had begun to already materialize and idolatry to prevail. The cultus of Astarte succeeded that of the heavenly Venus, and royalty aggregated to itself divine attributes under the names of Baal. Demetrius made religion subservient to politics and conquest, replacing the old mysterious temples by ostentatiousness and ill-advised monuments. Now, this notwithstanding, the magical idea continued to prevail in art and science, sealing the constructions of the epoch of the characteristics of inimitable power and grandeur. The palace of Semiramis was a building synthesis of entire Zoroastrianism dogma, and we shall recur to it in explaining the symbolism of those 7 masterpieces of antiquity which are called the wonders of the world. The priesthood became secondary to the empire as a result of an attempt to materialize its own power. The fall of the one was bound to involve the other, and it came to pass under the Ephemante Sardania Plu. What the fuck, bro? Sardanapalus. This prince, abandoned to luxury and indolence, reduced the science of the Magi to the level of one of his courtesans. Which purpose did marvels serve if they failed to, in instration of pleasure, compel, O chanters, compel the winter to produce roses, double the savor of wine, apply your power over the light to make the beauty of a woman shine that of divinities. The Magi obeyed, and the king passed from intoxication to intoxication. But it came about that war was declared and that the enemy was already on the march. That enemy might signify little to the Sabriate steeped in his pleasure, but it was ruin, it was infamy, it was death. Now Sardanapalus did not fear death, since for him it was an endless sleep, and he knew how to avoid the toils and humiliations of servitude. The last night came. The victor was already upon the threshold. The city could stand out no longer. The kingdom of Assyria must end on the morrow. The place of Sardanapalus was illuminated and blazed with such splendor that it lightened all the concentrated city. Amidst piles of precious stuffs, amidst jewels and the golden vessels of the king, held his final orgy. His women, his favorites, his accomplishments, his accomplices, his degenerate priests surrounded him. The riot of drunkenness mingled with the music of 1,000 instruments. The tame lions roared. A smoke of perfumes going up from the vaults of the palace enveloped the whole edifice in a heavy cloud. But the tongues of fire began to penetrate the cedar paneling. The frenzied songs were replaced by cries of terror and groans of agony. The magic in the hands of its degraded adepts could not safeguard the empire of Ninus. Did at least mingle its marvels to emblazon the terrible memories of this titanic suicide, a vast and sinister splendor such as the night of Babylon had never seen, seemed suddenly to set back and enlarge the vault of heaven. A noise like all the thunders of the world pealing together shook the earth, and the walls of the city collapsed. Thereafter, a deeper night descended. The palace of Sardanapalus melted, and when the morrow came, his conqueror found no trace of his riches, no trace even of the king's body or any of his luxuries. So ended the first empire of Assyria, and the civilization founded of the old by a true Zoroastrian. Thus also ended magic, properly so called, and the reign of Kabbalah began. Abraham, on coming out of Chaldea, carried its mysteries with him. The people of God increased in silence, and we shall meet before long with Daniel, confounding the miserable enchanters of Nebuchadnezzar and Belshazzar. Chapter 3. We're getting into that on Wednesday, bro. All right. Can everybody just put something, just anything, bro, that just stuck out to them, bro? South Jersey, what's up? I see South New Jersey again. I see another New Jersey, what's up? Shit's crazy, bro. My mind is still even just trying to process all of that information. Basically, from what I was understanding, maybe it's just me, maybe I'm a fucking lunatic, but basically, Kabbalism and Baal worship grew from when an empire was around that actual magic exists. The destruction of magic and humans' own will perpetuated on other humans with the use of magic created a self-destructive civilization that was destroyed by human greed and pride. And when that kingdom fell, Baal worship rose, sacrificing kids to gods, sacrificing children to gods. Because at that point, the inner divinity, the astral light was taken away from our essence. We weren't able to see our own divinity, and we gave our power away to these other deities that are supposedly somewhere else. Agreed? Anybody agree? Damn, we've been going for 2 hours and 15 minutes, bro. Fuck yeah. Let's get right into this. Oddfellows. The Oddfellows. Yeah, I didn't forget. We're diving into the Oddfellows, bro. This secret fucking society that has a lodge in like probably every. Let's actually just take a look. I want to show you where this place is at. You guys want to see where this place is at? You guys probably have your own. You guys probably have your own. Let's just go here. Sure. Sure. Let's just check Jeffrey Epstein's island real fast. Oh, we're already here. I pulled up Google Maps and I'm already here on Epstein's island. Is there any fucking street views? No street views? Okay. Let's go Utah. All right. We've got to go down here. We've got to go right there. I mean, the way that it's looking, bro, I'm thinking I might try to infiltrate. Let me just try to infiltrate. Where you at, you little bitch? Okay. Let's see here. Let's just do this. I know exactly where it's at. Uglies. Pleasant Grove, Utah. So you guys want to see this, huh? You guys want to see this? I need fires in the chat if you guys want to see what this place looks like. Yeah, see this right here? This little sign right here? This little building that has all these windows blacked out? No sign. You know what I mean? Just a little side fucking street here in Pleasant Grove, Utah. But if you go down just a little bit, you can zoom in. The Oddfellows and the Rebecca Debras. You see the 3-link chain right there? You see it? See it? See it over here? You see it? You see it? You see it? Crazy. Crazy. Let's get right up in here. Shout out Mind Unveiled.
In the last Twitter, he explained.
Actually, before we even get into this, I gotta go potty, dude. I gotta go potty, bro. 4 people watching, let's go. What's something I can put on here for you? We'll just put on Tim Dillon.
Trump knows one thing. He goes, here's what America wasn't built on. This. Whatever you think about America was not built on people saving other people. That's not what America was built on. Trump's like, listen, Trump is so bored when this young lifeguard is talking. He is so bored. He's thinking about how to sell access to his Truth Social post, which he's already doing. He's thinking about bringing in, people. He's selling access to people that are big investors in Trump coin and the Bitcoin scam. And Trump's eyes would have lit up if the kid said, "We're launching a coin. We're actually launching a crypto based on this event because we believe the event was so powerful that we are launching a crypto." And Trump's eyes would have lit up. He would go, really? That's fascinating. But nothing excites Trump less than a story. And by the way, there's a part of me that understands that. And it's not a part of me that I'm proud of, and it's not a good part of me, but it's the part of all of us that none of us admit that we have, where it's kind of like, it's the part of us where we go, yes, we know this kid's a hero and he did the right thing. And it's an amazing, it's the human spirit. And I'm even boring myself talking about the good thing that the guy did. Let's continue. Our president, and by the way, I feel bad that our president kind of has to suffer through it. That's why he's going like, I wouldn't have done it. What are you getting out of this? Continue.
Out of the water as fast as I can. And for shaping my future, I want to be a firefighter in the future. Hopefully go through paramedic school.
Trump's like, no money in that.
So good start. We'll give them recommendations. We may have some good recommendations. Go ahead.
I hope that everybody can take away from this and try to help more people. Try to look out for everybody around you.
And not this White House.
Just try to help everybody out as much as you can.
And they would rather do nothing else. Right? That's very good. I think it's great. This is very exciting to me.
Yeah. Right.
It's so exciting to see something like this happen.
Right.
He's a real hero.
Right.
When you see that, I don't know if I'd do it. I wouldn't. Probably.
Right, I wouldn't. I wouldn't have saved you.
You're lucky I wasn't on.
He says
that day. I don't know.
He goes, "You're lucky." Yeah, you're lucky. I wouldn't have been on. Yeah, he says to a child.
And he's a real lucky guy too.
All right, get him out of there. He says to a child, "You're lucky I wasn't there that day." He's saying this is the first time the child has met the president of the United States. This is the first time the child has met the president of the United States of America. And he's saying, you're lucky I wasn't there. I would have let you die. Because that's what our country is about. You see why I'm sitting here in the Oval Office adorned with gold? It's not because I pulled a bunch of Mexican kids out of the water. In fact, I put a bunch of them in cages. There's a ton of people that look like you that are in a cage right now. So, this is an interesting insight into the psyche of Trump. You don't get a lot of them, by the way. You think you would get more because we've, so much of him is lore and mythos and whatever. And, it's such a show and it's such a, it's so fun and it moves so fast. But every now and then you get a real insight into who the man is. And he really lets his guard down here and lets you know what he feels is important. Like when the kid's like, I want to be a firefighter. And Trump's like, what? What? You want to run into a house that's burning and get someone you don't know out of the house so that they can breathe? What's that? Like Trump cannot understand that part of him completely doesn't exist. Best case, he thinks it's nice maybe that it happens. He's like, I guess that's good. I guess it's good that people do that. But not one part of him understands self-sacrifice or grabbing another human being, putting them on your back, endangering your life to bring that person out of a burning building so that they can breathe air. Trump's like, I just don't know about that as a business venture. How does that, and it's not fun. Here's the other thing about Trump. Trump goes, yeah, it's not really fun. Like houses burning down, people drowning. Not so much fun in that. You know what's fun? Firing people in a boardroom on television, being a wrestling heel, like doing big rallies, landing in a helicopter, and like calling people names. That's fun. Roasting people. That's fun. This isn't fun. He gets bored. He goes, I don't know about it. It's not good TV. That's what we've always.
I don't know. I love me some Tim Dillon, bro. He's funny as fuck, bro. He's funny as fuck, bro. Who do we got up in here? If you're still here, can you just say hello? I know I probably lose people on these little commercial breaks, but I had some parenting to do. I could hear my kids fighting upstairs over the PlayStation. We've been going for about 2.5 hours already. Dang, bro, we're fired up. This is about 52 minutes. We might get it all the way into this. I got a lot of stuff to do. I got to do this afternoon. So let's get right up in here.
In the last story I explained, we covered how in America there was a sudden need to build asylums in the 18th and 19th centuries. The size and population count during these times make these structures very questionable, some of them almost being self-contained cities. The narrative is that these were built because there was a rise in sickness and lunatics, and they say this is due to the Civil War and yellow fever. As we covered, this narrative doesn't really make sense, and it's much more likely that these were old world buildings built by a prior civilization that were then turned into reset programming facilities by the inheritors. Now, this video could have been part of the last video because in a way this is a direct continuation of that subject, but I think it's better that we go ahead and do 2 different videos.
Okay. Can you maybe, if we can, see, look, there's the little fucking, there's the Oddfellows orphanage home. Can you maybe now see why I feel so weirded out about finding this by my house? This shit's connected to Tartaria, bro. Like incubator babies, homunculus, world fairs, bro. I seen it and I immediately was like, what the fuck? It's right here. Holy shit, dude. Oh, man.
It started to become apparent after the research for the last video that many of these asylums have another name. You know how at the very early history of many of these mental institutions, some of them actually started as prisons that had flooded with many who were mentally ill, and eventually the inmates were told to build their own hospital. At least that's how the story goes. But the point is that at some point, these prisons and mental institutions were essentially one. And the same could be said for the orphanages. Many of these asylums were also orphan homes. They have...
Doesn't that just like right off the rip give you the fucking heebie-jeebies to find out that orphanages, prisons, and insane asylums were all in the same building? And then you got to think about like a period of time where like lobotomies were a real thing. You were like, they perceived you to be possessed or mentally ill, where they would like literally drill holes into your skull, bro. What the fuck? Oh yeah, and that's where the orphanages were at. What's up, Chris? Let me you should just come kick it on fucking come kick it on frick, where's it at? You should come hang out on Kick, bro. You're gonna have a better time on Kick. I'm telling you. It's the way to go. I'm gonna drop it in the chat again. Kick link. Hit the link that's pinned to the top of your chat. Come join us on Kick. That's where all the people you will see commenting on screen are at.
have different names for them. Sometimes they call it orphan asylums, foundling hospitals, and Oddfellow homes. This is where the story gets even deeper. These homes were funded and owned by a Masonic lodge known as the Oddfellows. These people play a major role in the reset program during the early 1800s, and it was done under the name of philanthropy. But if you look at some of their symbols and the people behind this, we can begin to suspect that maybe their intentions weren't so benign.
Whoa.
The people behind this, we can begin to suspect that maybe their intent.
I have a couple questions for these symbols. Okay, so everybody knows the skull and bones, right? Everybody knows the skull and bones. Is this the beginning of MK Ultra when they educate the orphans? They like brainwash the orphans and then send them out into the world. What about this symbol right here? I'm big over this one, the fasciste. You know the symbol that is represented in fascism that is actually like a fucking magical energy weapon. If you know, you know.
Intentions weren't so benign. Interestingly, this was brought up when we looked into Spring Grove in Maryland. Many of these hospitals were funded by this organization. The Independent Order of Oddfellows, IOOF, is a non-political and non-sectarian international fraternal order of odd fellowship.
James Geddes. Thomas Wildley, John Welch. Interesting.
It was founded in 1819 by Thomas Wildy in Baltimore, Maryland, United States, but it evolved from the Order of Oddfellows, founded in England during the 1700s. I don't know, that just kind of seems weird to me, but these people and their whole mission was to educate the orphans. Okay, so let's take a look at some of these Oddfellow buildings. These are essentially orphanages, and they have lodges as well. And it's the same thing. It's the same constant theme that you see with some of these other asylums. Basically castles, right? And who are these people? There's another castle. Who are these Oddfellows with all these symbols, and they have these nice suits and they're all prepared in these cities? But who are these Oddfellows? Are basically a secret order. And I saw this cool website that basically was an artwork done with all their symbols and some prominent Oddfellows and Freemasons. But this is basically another order that is associated with these asylums and orphanages. So if we come down, he was listing some of the people in here. You have the vice president. You have the president in here. You have Albert Pike. So who were these people, and why, do we not hear about them as much as the Freemasons, right? And I find it strange that they try to say that they're all for friendship, love, and truth, right? As if this is just some charitable organization. But then, you come and you look at some of their symbols. I mean, what's going on? We have the eye, we have the fasces. These are all occult symbols. And so we even have Rosicrucian or Catholic type symbols and Masonic artwork. Masonic with the 3 links. So that's the Oddfellow connection. They're connected with the Masons. And Skull and Bones. So these people are the ones funding many of these hospitals.
Dead ass. Real question. Any of you guys even, okay, if you guys have been on my streams when we really went into all this stuff, you probably have heard of the Oddfellows, but did you guys know any of this stuff? Have you guys ever even heard of this group, the Oddfellows? Like, genuinely asking, bro. And what are your thoughts so far? It's just like another one of those secret societies, bro. What do you think?
And they have buildings all around the world. Oddfellow halls. They have lodges.
It says they've got some in Australia, Canada, Denmark, Finland, New Zealand, Sweden, United States. Pretty crazy.
They have cemeteries. So this is a big deal. Here's a Oddfellow mansion in Denmark. They're in Australia. Let's keep scrolling down. Here's some in Toronto that look pretty. There's that Denmark one. And then you have some of these smaller ones, but even these, I mean, these are still old world buildings. You know, we might think like these are pretty easy to build, and I mean, they probably are nowadays, but still, I mean, you know, the inheritors weren't going to waste time. They just took over some of these buildings that were already here. So there's some, and there's some bigger ones down here. Here's an Oddfellow hall. Pretty impressive looking. Let's see this one, St. Charles. And so, yeah, I mean, this is obviously a very, very wealthy organization to own all these buildings or have all these constructed, as they tell us. So, and all these lodges too, they look very old world. And then they have cemeteries, so very strange indeed. The Oddfellows also.
What? It's not sitting right with me that they have cemeteries and orphanages. It's almost as if like they're like the secret society of the Masons that have been specifically tasked with instructions with death and instructions for birth. It seems crazy. You're going to find out by the end of the stream why they have cemeteries. It's pretty fucking weird and crazy and has to do with like initiation and some pretty dark like skeleton shit. We'll get into that hopefully if he doesn't touch on it, I will.
Known as the Three Link Fraternity, is one of the oldest and largest non-political and non-sectarian fraternal and service-oriented organizations in the world. Now, if you think this is just some white person thing or this operation was done solely by one race, you're mistaken, as many of these Oddfellow organizations were also entirely black. We'll come back to this when we get to the colored orphanages. Essentially, at this time, there was no healthcare, no orphanages, no care for the elderly, so this group called the Order of Oddfellows comes out of nowhere. There are many theories about how it first started and got its name, but its generally accepted belief is that it emerged in England when a group of working class men who fell outside of the established system of trade guilds banded together to form their own labor association. So they continue, and this is what they tell us, that at the time of industrialization in England, fellows from various odd trades gathered together and formed a fraternity to protect and care for their members and communities at a time when there was no welfare state, trade unions, and national health insurance. Honestly, I think it's complete BS because, as we'll see shortly, these people had a lot of money and were not such an average working class guys as we're led to believe. It could also be that at some point, the state took over because there's no way that this was just started by a few laborers. But of course, they give us this story. They would work together to help each other and the unfortunate families back on their feet, whether it was rebuilding a barn that had burned or putting in a new crop after a devastating season. Such helpers came to be known as Oddfellows, so named by general population who thought they were an odd bunch of fellows who would behave in such a selfless and seemingly impractical fashion. Then, the group adopted the name. This is a pretty funny way to get their name, but you know, these are the stories that they tell us. And as many of you know, many of these controllers think they're clever by working under philanthropy, as the order's triple link symbol is alluding to its motto, friendship, love.
Who else would you think is part of some sort of fraternal order that disguises his work as philanthropy? I'll go first. Bill Gates. All of his stuff is in the name of philanthropy, isn't it?
and truth, which sounds pretty fake to me. By the early 1700s, there were a number of Oddfellows organizations in England. In 1810, various Oddfellow lodges of the London Union Order in Manchester organized an independent order of Oddfellows with the title Manchester Unity. With their improved system, they were able to persuade other Oddfellow lodges to join their unity. They also chartered the Independent Order of Oddfellows in America years after. Okay, so it started in England, and at some point, through Thomas Wildy, he immigrates into Maryland and then decides to get Oddfellows started in America. Because at this time, for whatever reason, according to the narrative, there was no health insurance and there was no one there to take care of all the people. So, they decide that they're going to go build all these massive asylums and orphanages and spend all this money to make it super detailed and ornate. And let's break all other architectural goals ever made in America. And let's go ahead and make it a self-contained city. And you know what? We're going to do all of this for free. That's basically the abridged version, okay? So do you believe that? So who is this Thomas Wildy? Wildy was born in London, England in 1782. He was left an orphan 5 years later, and the IOOF pledged to educate the orphans sprang from his personal childhood experiences. See, so what you have is these orphans guiding other orphans, and this kind of reminds me a lot of the Promised Neverland, which we should definitely do a breakdown in the future, but essentially, this process had already begun by this point. At the age of 14, Wildy went to live with an uncle. After he had 9 years of schooling, he became an apprentice to a maker of coach springs. He joined the British Oddfellows in 1804. Right? So they train a child to join this fraternity, and if you're the right choice, you continue the cycle. So when Wildy immigrated to America in 1817, the British were still unpopular in the States because of the War of 1812. And that year, Baltimore was suffering both from yellow fever epidemic and mass unemployment. I find it weird that they feel the need to bring this up again. It's like all these organizations and structures are being founded during this 1812 time, and so they even admit that this outside organization infiltrating Maryland is basically unpopular. Are the Oddfellows some type of British fraternity that was started in the early 1700s to facilitate the process of putting orphans through reset programming?
Reset programming? That shit just kind of fucking hit me da-da. Reset programming. Just like Julia Brand to replace programmable people.
So he comes to America, puts out an advertisement, and on April 26, 1819, 4 men who responded to the advertisement formed the Independent Order of Oddfellows in North America, dedicating the order to achieve philanthropic goals. Other Englishmen who were Oddfellows had grouped in the states along the eastern seaboard, and Wildy gathered them all into the newly formed...
Just a second. Just 1 second.
fraternity. He traveled widely to set up lodges in the most recently settled parts of the country. Now, it's not just that they bought these buildings, because that's one link that we have to this fraternity, but it's much harder to find what are the institutions that may have been funded by this very same fraternity, such as the asylums and colleges. See, when they say philanthropy, it really means they are capitalizing on their means of control and power. I just have a hard time believing that this random guy named Thomas came to America and just started one of the largest organizations to this day. And how did he get so wealthy if he was an orphan? These 5 people were responsible for funding many of these Oddfellow homes during this period, and they did so for free. I didn't really mention this earlier, but if you look at some of the symbols on the buildings, you can see royal Phoenician family symbology. This isn't just something that started from a small guild. This is another aspect that we need to understand, is that in the modern day, this has become mainstreamed like other groups similar to the Freemasons. Anyone can join nowadays, and they say it's just for love and, oh, this is just a fasces, and it means we need to stick together, you know? They make it sound all innocent because they probably really don't know.
We're definitely very, like, one of those, like, American secret societies that you hear about from the Gilded Age.
Oh, I am in. And to our surprise, their headquarters is in downtown Tuscola. The group sounds like something out of a movie, really.
They're called the Oddfellows, and their goal is to give back to their community. WCIA 3's Jessica Coons is here. Jessica, the Oddfellows have been around, it sounds like, for a long time.
Paul, they celebrate their 200th birthday in the U.S. next year. And while we're calling them a secret society, they actually do want you to know who they are because they're working to make a difference. Up a steep staircase in downtown Tuscola, Oddfellows enter their secret meeting space.
Who goes there?
And this is where we give the password. That password gets you into this cavernous room. Ainsley Heilich and his business partner bought the building 7 years ago, and when they walked into this space, they didn't know what to think. Then they found out it used to house an Oddfellows Lodge dating all the way back to 1865.
We found all this great old regalia that was just hidden up in the crawl space, almost like national treasure. It's like you start down a path of like little breadcrumbs and it just kind of ropes you in further and further, and here we are.
With 55 lodges in Illinois alone. Heilich brought back Tuscola's order 3 years ago. They focus on charity work. He says people crave being part of something bigger.
For a lot of people of my generation, we were raised on the internet, and we are seeking that in-person.
My generation was raised on the internet, so we have been programmed to believe anything they want us to believe.
Interaction, and we're definitely growing tired of, all the arguing on Facebook.
He says this room is a safe haven for people looking for more out of life.
When you come to a lodge, you leave all that behind you. You can't talk about religion. You can't talk about politics. All you're allowed to do is focus on doing the good of the order and being good friends to each other.
That's what brought Natasha Gardewine here almost a year ago. Like, I was kind of looking for like a group of people,
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, one of the things that sets them apart is they allow females to join as well.
To kind of, we have similar interests and stuff, so I got here and I was really impressed with it because of the group of artists, and it kind of felt like somewhere that I could fit in. She encourages others to join too, if not for the friends alone, but being part of a secret society is pretty cool too.
It's pretty cool too. What the fuck?
So I was looking through photos and I noticed that there was this ritual that involved riding some kind of goat. And so there's a couple books that actually came out talking about different signs and secret passwords and stuff. So, I mean, this is not just some, love and truth organization. Obviously, there's something going on. But in 1845, a supposed expelled and anonymous Oddfellow published a book called Odd Fellowship Exposed, where the writer described a horrific and probably inaccurate initiation ceremony, and in the ceremony, a voice cries, "Prepare the goat," when a large black and white goat steps into the hall and the new initiate is told to mount it. After doing this and grabbing the animal's large horns, the new initiate is thrown from the goat and lands on the floor on his back, hearing laughter all around. So, pretty strange. And then there's another book that confirms it too, so it's not just this book. And
Wait a second. Is that it right there? Is that Mithras? Mithras. On a goat, like a horned animal. Interesting. Just putting it out there. I have no idea if this is real. Just making a connection to this mythological person that seemed to have taken over a horned being.
So, it makes you wonder, why don't they talk about these Oddfellows doing rituals or being very symbolic? Like, why is that not explained when we kind of look up the wiki page or just a basic explanation of these people. And I also saw that there was this book that kind of explained the symbols a little bit more, and it's, I mean, this could be its own video.
Wait a second.
It's very religious.
I just want to see if this book is in his vault. I just want to see if his book is in this vault. Where would it be? Oh, I typed it in wrong. Peace out, eternity. The Oddfellows. That's the fraternal order that belongs to secret societies. Looking through the hidden history and secret society shelf, I have the volumes on Masons, Rosicrucians, the Templars, Jesuits, Jacobins, the Irish Nationalist Societies. The nearest thing I can reach for you is the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry and the Kindred Sciences, Volume 1, written in 1887. Okay. Interesting. Okay. 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 Okay.
It obviously seems kind of associated with something much older. This is not just some laborers who came up with all this stuff. And so
Whoa. Hold the fuck on.
and it's, I mean, this could be its own video. Cool. And it kind of much older. This is not just some laborers who came up with all this stuff.
Whoa, you see that? You see it? You see the Swazi?
And so, yeah, I just thought it was kind of weird that they don't really bring this up. I can't help but wonder why they went so far to make it a ritual or symbolical at all. This is just a private men's club, right? If you want to talk about philosophy, then do so. But I think it's more likely that our modern day Oddfellow lodges and groups are the remnants of a secret occult fraternity that was connected to the royal monarchy. They most likely have moved into other organizations, or only the highest ranking members truly know the history of these lodges. Look into it. These Oddfellow Masons try to make it seem like they just talk about life and working as a team and stuff, but if we look at these old photos of these Oddfellows, I think it was something else back then. Look at some of these pictures. I mean, the whole city is in on it. It's almost as if this is some type of orphanage society that groomed the orphans into controlling the next batch of orphans, possibly by giving them some knowledge of the old world. So I saw this when I was looking through Google, and I saw these kind of like illustrations, and I was like, huh, that kind of looks Tartarian, because I know I've seen these types of engravings and pictures in other books where they're like depicting Tartarians and they look just like this. And supposedly this is Oddfellow costumes. And at first I was like not really sure if it actually was the same thing, but I think it is. Here's the Skull and Bones thing. Here are some real Oddfellows, and this is basically like there's different levels. Here's a book talking about it. Let's see. The Warden, the First Degree. I click on this. So, I think this is something to consider. I don't know 100% how to kind of add this in, but I thought it was weird because it does remind me of some of those Tartarian depictions that we've seen. Not only are they connected with most of the local city institutions, but also the colleges. So if they didn't build all these structures, then what's going on? Well, first we need to take a look at ghost or reset cities. There are many photographs from the 1800s that should show heavily populated cities that seem to be completely empty. It's almost as if it's a total ghost town. What if the majority of these cities were already here, and then some event occurred that wiped large parts of the cities away? A lot of downtown areas are likely the result of this cataclysm. Many of the buildings not only have underground sections, but are only old brick up to a certain point before they are reconstructed with new materials. This would imply that the tops of these buildings were destroyed at some point, and it's more than just a few buildings that could have suffered a random fire. It's dozens, maybe even hundreds in nearly every city. The idea that this is a natural cyclical reset is just as plausible as the idea that our very idea of nature is being manipulated by other humans for the sole purpose of mitigating human populations under the guise of acts of God or weather phenomena. A fact or situation that is observed to exist or happen, especially one whose cause or explanation is in question. A group of inheritors then came in and began the process of using these buildings for their own population. They would empty out a city and then move in a completely new batch of people. There would be orphans who knew nothing of their history or the last world. Anyone who knew or didn't follow instructions would be put in the asylum. The way I see it is that the whole War of 1812 has to do with there still being some surviving populations in the US and their attempt to fight off the invaders. There must have been some type of hijacking during this point. One of the means of doing so was asylums, colleges, and repopulating cities. We have all these fire events occurring during this time, and these are huge fires, and it may be that this is connected to when a city gets hijacked and prepared for repopulation. So let's take a look at some old photos of San Francisco, and they're pretty good quality. It's basically a panorama, and these photos were taken in the 1870s. So according to the history of San Francisco, it was founded by Spain in November of 1769, but it was still a small settlement with, quote, inhospitable geography. So in 1850, there was...
Okay, first and foremost, can we just point out how weird it is that there's no people? There's literally no people. There's no people. There's no cars. There's nothing. How is it that they were able to orchestrate every single fucking person that lives in this entire city to not tell them to not go outside, remove all of the cars, remove all the cars from it? No people at all. Seems weird, doesn't it?
was still no real city yet, and it wasn't until the gold rush that people started moving into these areas in the West, as the story goes. And so the population during this time is supposed to be around 150,000, and let's keep in mind that this is only because of an odd boost in the amount of people in the 1870s, 20 years after the gold rush. It has the largest population increase if we don't include the initial population growth of the first decade. To me, this city does not look like a city of 150,000, but a city of more than 1 million. But
I mean, do you agree, bro? Seems crazy, right? It doesn't look like a city of 100,000 people. That looks like a pretty large city, bro.
where is everybody? There's not a soul to be seen. And one of the common explanations for this is that these were architectural photos commissioned by the owner of the buildings themselves, and so they didn't want busy streets, you know, and it just doesn't really seem like that's the full story, as you would think there would be someone, at least some horses or children walking around. I mean, even on a Sunday, you would see people going out to church, so it's just very strange that we don't see anyone in these photos. It's not just the photos that make San Francisco suspect, but the world fairs that were built and destroyed within a span of 20 years, and this is also home to the largest earthquakes and fires known in US history. Or at least, that's what they tell us, as this seems to be a common theme with almost every city. It's also strange that there was this great flood in 1862 that sank the entire city of Sacramento and left a small island sea in Orange County that lasted for 3 weeks. Seems like a lot of things were happening back then in California. This may have been one of the great events that...
Speaking of, we're going to take a little quick tangent here. We're going to take a little quick tangent here. Oh, you're waking up, huh? You're waking up, huh? Hello? Can you please provide me factual information about what is currently happening in Gary, Indiana, U.S. as of today or the last week? Can we get hearts in the chat for Gary, Indiana? Gary is in the middle of a serious ongoing storm recovery crisis. Severe storms that hit the northwest Indiana beginning August 11th caused widespread infrastructure damage, and thousands of Gary, Indiana residents remain right now still without electricity nearly 2 weeks later. As of today at 7 a.m. on August 24th, there is reported that 7,400 people still don't have electricity. It's across the northwest Indiana service area. 10,000 customers remain without power. Okay, so it says here. It says by the 25th at 11:59 p.m. is the restoration time. Some of the residents have reported water problems, boiling water advisory, sewage backups, debris in the streets, and dark roads with non-functioning streetlights. Local reporting says that people have struggled to even preserve food, obtain water and or generators, or find hotel rooms. Businesses and some schools have also been affected. That's insane, bro. 10,000 people without power, bro. Imagine what people do in situations like that where they don't have food, bro. These people don't have clean water, bro. As of today, 10,000 people still don't have power, bro. I personally, as a human on planet Earth, can just tremendously resonate with how hard that would be. And my heart genuinely just goes out to every person that's struggling in this situation. I hope that everybody is safe. I hope people are able to eat. That's what brought it up, is these catastrophes where everything is destroyed and then everything just gets built over. You don't think for 1 second as this whole society and infrastructure of everything is breaking down and being destroyed because people are probably looting to try and survive. If it's cold out there and you don't got nothing to heat you up, you're going to light something on fire, bro. Especially if it gets to the point where it's like can make you sick. Yeah, you're right. What if it is just a test run to see what the whole country will do if the power goes down? It seems crazy. It seems scary, but it kind of connected with some catastrophes. You know what I'm saying? That seems just kind of weird, bro. 10,000 people have no power right now, bro. My heart goes out to every single one of them. Unless they like fuck kids or something. I don't know. Then fuck them.
Transformed California's appearance, as it was literally thought to be an island just less than 100 years prior, but no, that's just a cartographic error. Let's move on to Chicago. And I think I need to mention is that some people might need to see literally the exact same scenario as San Francisco with these like HD photos and all this stuff, but it's not always as simple, as it's very difficult to find photos of major cities before 1870, which, if you ask me, it doesn't really make that much sense. Why does California have professional panoramic photos of their city in 1870s, but we don't see anything like that for Chicago or New York? If so, it has been purposely hidden. So basically, Chicago was started in the 1830s, and there's a lot of weird stuff going on with Chicago. Like, the entire city was lifted up by a couple feet, and this was all done by private property owners with jacks, and they were lifting these huge buildings up off the ground because there was flooding due to these nearby swamplands. And I don't really buy that story at all, but on top of that, they tell us that there was this huge fire in 1870. This here is our key, as we have nothing else to go on. This is when Chicago became a ghost city and cleared out. We do have a few photos of what this looked like, and let me ask you, does this really look like just a simple fire? They literally tell us that this is the Great Fire that did all this damage because a cow kicked over a lantern and set fire to a barn, right? So, even the photos in the early 1900s look kind of weird and empty, and don't get me wrong, you can find photos of Chicago populated in the 1900s, but it's like 1906, 1910. This is after the city was repopulated. Before 1870s, you will not see densely populated city photos, which is strange because they completely possess the ability to take these photos, so why didn't they? It also wasn't just dependent on long exposure capture either, as other methods were already being developed, such as Thompson's revolver camera of 1862. The revolver photographique was patented in 1862 and made by a Parisian instrument maker A. Briois. The camera made 4 exposures on a circular glass plate, with the lens being held in the barrel of the gun. This allowed the photographer to aim and steady the camera with one hand, using the other hand to operate the controls. There is no excuse. The technology...
That doesn't look like a fire, bro. For real, a direct energy weapon. Crazy. Yeah, it's from the Zeppelins. What about those blue roofs in Hawaii? How come all the houses that had blue roofs didn't burn down in Hawaii? Interesting.
Was there. Why don't we have more clear photos? It's looking as if they've been systematically removed. Now, New York was one of the first cities to be reset in America, as it was possibly one of the largest settlements of the Tartarians at the time. The city was most likely taken over right before the early 1800s. If we look at how it was depicted in the 1870s, we can see that it should be almost overpacked at this point, and even some of the engravings at this time show it to be very dense streets. But when we look at photos from around the 1870s time period,
you know what's crazy? I'm just connecting right now. Was just thinking about how I'm going to build this web to be able to compile all of this information into one place that we can look at. These buildings right here look like the buildings that the Oddfellows purchased or had for their orphanages, you know? Like the castle, like old world type stuff. You know what I'm saying?
We really don't see that much on the streets. Yes, if you look at the 1900s photos, you'll see lots of people, but if you look just a little bit earlier, there are many photos shot during the day that show streets completely empty. And I do think that there were people here at this time, probably not as much as they tell us, but just look at all these buildings. You would think buildings this large, we would see way more people on the streets. In New York, there's another great fire that was forgotten that occurred in 1776 that destroyed almost 1,000 structures. This fire isn't really well known, but again, you see this in every city as it's a part of the reset process. They must clear these cities out before moving in a new population, and one of the excuses is fires. I found this interesting though. So according to the official history, George Washington and the Revolutionary Army had realized that the British would capture New York City, so they decided to just set fire to everything so that they would gain little from it.
Wait, what? George Washington burned down his own city? No way. Wait, he was a Mason too, right?
Now first I thought, maybe that's a cover story, but what if there's actually something to that? It would explain why it took the inheritors until the early 1900s to repopulate New York and some of these other cities, as the Tartarians realized that they were going to lose the city and decided it was best to move west and set the cities on fire before the War of 1812.
That is really crazy, huh? I just noticed that too, Pretty Ricky. Shout out Pretty Ricky. How crazy is it that these photos, okay? You're right. They only depict the buildings burning, nothing else. There's no fire on the ground. You know what I'm saying? Like the pathways in between the buildings aren't burnt up.
I think it's not too much of a stretch to think that when we see a revolution around this time period, there's some kind of battle going on between the new rulers and the remaining survivors of the old world. I should also mention that there was a lot of compositing going on in these early 1900 photos, which makes a lot of this even more suspicious, but even in some of the most iconic photographs, I believe these to be composites. They did the same thing for construction photo.
Basically, he's I know for a fact, I mean, maybe not for a fact, but everyone has seen this picture. Put ones in the chat if you know what this picture is, if you've seen it before. It's iconic. Ones in the chat. Mind Unveiled. If you've watched any of Mind Unveiled also has a whole video breaking down Photoshop of old images. This image was photoshopped, but we were all led to believe that like the worker class, like these blue collar men were risking their lives to fucking eat donuts on the top of this skyscraper.
Iconic photographs. I believe these to be composites. They did the same thing for construction photos and for adding crowds in. But why would they do this? Well, the main explanation would most likely be for getting these architectural photos, and they would do a certain cleanup process in post, but I don't think that most people are thinking about that when they look at some of these older photos. They 100% had the ability to manipulate and mix photos during this time, so this isn't some crazy concept. But we can still see that something's off with the official narrative, because we should see more people and more photos going back into the 1870s. And even the photos that we do have from the 1890s and 1900s look to be very low population. Some of these photos are very ghostly, and I showed you that we would have the capabilities of shooting HD photos in the 1870s with California, yet the photos we have of New York are mostly from the 1890s and above, and the earliest ones are very, very low quality. There's no doubt that Philly is an old world American city, but let's just think about this. So, Philadelphia is started in the early 1700s, and luckily we have some of the earliest engravings of Philly that most likely are old world engravings which show a hidden truth to the size of Philly during this time. So this is 200 years before the 1900s, yet if we look at some of these photos of Philly, it really doesn't seem as populated as it should be. Now, we do...
You would assume, honestly, just like really please tell me I'm not the only one, but you would assume with a building this huge, that's a huge building, you would think that it's right. There would be more people. Okay, sure, you could say that this was taken in on Sunday. Everybody was at church. But the fact that these huge buildings were like literally everywhere, and you never really see large groups of people until you get to the world fairs where they had incubator babies, it's kind of weird. Shit, bro. I'm sorry. I pulled the Baron Coleman with no sound. I apologize.
Also have to realize that the photos that we have from most of these cities in the 1850s belong to private collections. The vast majority have been selected for approval, and I've looked through this entire Frederick de Boer collection of Philadelphia, and all of them are completely empty streets. They have these very narrow angles, and it just seems very, very empty. When it comes to Baltimore, there are very few pictures before 1870. Again, it doesn't really make sense, and one of the earliest photos is just some random photo of a market. We have photos from the 1900s, and even then it seems that the city was not that densely populated. With structures like this, tell me, where are all the people at? It seems by 1910, they finally started to get the streets busy. This is supposed to be Baltimore in 1870. So why is it that there are such few photos, and the ones that we do have, there's only a couple people in them? And I could continue to do this for other cities in America, such as Louisville, Atlanta, Detroit, and many others, but this isn't something constrained just to the United States. In Toronto, it's completely empty. How could it possibly be this empty? Venice. Where are the people? They're all missing.
Okay, so it's not only in America, it's in Canada and also in Venice, Italy. It all seems super fucking weird to me. How is it that every single one of these places, these cities, bro, how is it that they're all like this, bro? It seems unfathomable. Like realistic, like really think about it, bro. How improbable is it that all of the ancient and old pictures of these cities, they all have no people?
Moscow. There's obviously something that they're not telling us. And there's a truth that's been hidden in these cities because it makes no sense to have such huge architectures if these cities have empty streets in the early 1900s. I mean, what are they keeping from us? And why are all the streets in these pictures made of dirt? I mean, you spend all this time building beautiful architecture just to have horrible dirt roads? Nah, they didn't build these cities. These were inherited by different peoples, and then they were cleared out. This brings us to the next step in the reset process, which was the trafficking of orphans into new reset cities.
The trafficking of orphans into these reset cities. We have to radically accept, bro. If this is true, if there are reset cities, that if they did just find all of this architecture, then what is this, bro? What did they find? What was the society that was here then? Where did all of these people who built this stuff go? How come it seems as if there might be secret societies today that are protecting and keeping this knowledge from us? Seems crazy, bro, to think about.
Parents would give up rights to children for multiple months so that the asylum would prevent them from learning bad habits. This was a huge thing back then, where you had these orphan homes and asylums that essentially were one and raised children of the new world. I wonder if many of these families found themselves in positions where they were forced to send their children at some point. From Alone in the World, Orphans and Orphanages in America by Catherine Reeve, quote, through much of the 19th century, orphanages broke families apart. A parent placing a child in asylum usually was forced to give up all rights to him or her. Many asylum managers believed that separating children from their parents once and for all was in the children's best interest. They knew of no better way to prevent the children from learning bad habits like drunkenness and laziness that might lead them into poverty. Throughout the United States,
Bro, that sounds like Palantir, but 200 years ago. They want to control us and watch us and take us and dictate what we do with our lives. What the fuck? Seems super totalitarianism, all right? They're like, we have deemed that you are lazy, so we are going to take your baby from you to make sure that that baby isn't lazy.
Two parents agreed in writing not to interfere in the raising of their sons and daughters. This was a very hard step to take. These parents knew they would never again comfort their children in sickness. They would never again watch their children play or share their joy. They were to have no say in what their children learned in school, how they were taught to worship, or how they were disciplined. Many mothers and fathers, unable to read or write, signed away their parental rights by making a mark on a printed surrender form. It sounds...
I'm just gonna... Ooh, I've been caught me by the boo-boo. And that's when the Jews took over America.
It's like they were tricked into giving their children away, but she continues to say, quote, asylums had an especially high death rate because contagious diseases spread rapidly when many children lived together. In 1849, 20 children died at the Colored Orphan Asylum in New York City, 9 of them from cholera. In 1840, the managers of the Washington City Orphan Asylum were pleased to report, quote, within the last 12 months, the withering hand of sickness has barely touched the inmates of the orphan's home. One infant's spirit had been translated to a brighter world. Quote, 1 or 2 deaths in a year was a statistic worthy of pride. Cruel living conditions in many asylums promoted the spread of disease. It was not unusual in the first half of the 19th century for orphans to sleep 3 or 4 to a bed. They bathed rarely and wore grimy, stained clothes, giving asylums the sour, poor house smell that anyone who worked among the needy knew all too well. In 1859, when 4 Roman Catholic nuns took charge of St.
Wait a second. Did you just say a picture frame flew off of your wall? Whoa, whoa, whoa. A picture frame flew off your wall? That seems crazy. A picture frame? What the shit? Is that magic? I don't know. Interesting.
Vincent's Orphan Asylum in Philadelphia, they found that of the 27 children in the orphanage, 13 were suffering from a skin disease all over the whole body. The children had no clothes for a change and only one suit which they wore. I could actually keep going. There are a lot of these stories when it comes to these orphanages, but the point is that these were not nice places to be. If they had so much money to build these massive structures, right? I mean, look at some of these orphan asylums. They are very wealthy people who built these structures. So if the story is as they tell us, and they built these structures, why do they not have enough money to properly take care of the orphans?
That's a pretty good point. If they were able to build all of these castles, how come the children lived in squalor? Okay, Lacey Lane, I need you to take a second with me and just let me bring you in close real quick. Do you have houseplants, Lacey? If you have houseplants, I've heard from something, someone, someplace. Maybe I'm just pulling this out of my ass right now. But if the picture fell off of the wall, your houseplants, if you notice, like one of the plants, one of their leaves just die or just fall off or just start to wither away, I want you to know your houseplants protect you, bro, and they absorb and they'll take the hit for you, bro. That's That's one reason why I love houseplants, bro. Because I don't even know if what I'm saying is statistically proven, but I know it deep to my soul that when randomly one of my 50-something houseplants just randomly has a leaf die, when I like to say that I take a pretty good care of them, it's because that leaf is taking a hit for me, an energetic hit. They're protectors of us. We've lost knowledge. We've lost information, bro, when it comes to these things called plants or trees, bro. It's been a journey for them to remove that knowledge, but I don't just like to say like go get yourself houseplants, bro, because not only do they like filter and make sure that the air that's inside of your home is filtered enough. You know what I'm saying? But they also protect you, bro. They also make you every day zoop right into the present moment, because you have to be aware of another living thing. You have to nurture another living thing that's not a dog, that's not your kid, that's not your spouse. You know what I'm saying? You have to taking care of plants is like this special energy that really heals the human. You have to like think of something that's not yourself and pay attention and make sure that it has everything it needs, and nurture it and love it and talk to it and interact with it. And do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, we're on a marathon today, bro. It's only 11:55 a.m. I was going to get off. But I want to finish this out. This little video we're watching's only got about 20 minutes or so. And then we will only be on Kick. So the link to Kick is in all of the chats. We're going to be on Kick for about 30 minutes. You know, I've got some tie-dye stuff to do, but I was going to go see my wife on her freaking lunch break, but she actually has a girl's lunch at her work. So here we are. You know what I'm saying? I'll drop the link one more time in all the chats. The Kick link. You better start heading over there now. Because soon these videos will be turned off and it will be just Kick. Pretty much by the end of this little clip we're watching, we'll just be on Kick. We got about 20 more minutes. So you have plenty of time to make sure to hit the Kick link and come over to Kick. I do need 100 unique individuals in 30 days to comment something in the chat. So if you do, please come over to Kick and just comment anything. You could say your fucking hair's gay, whatever. Just comment something. Sammy Sweetheart, what's up, girl? Sammy Sweetheart's up in the house. Let's go. What's up? All right, let's get right back into this. Damn, we're hitting like a 4-hour stream today, bro. That's cakewalk for Sammy Sweetheart. She'd be pulling in 12s.
I mean, they basically got rid of orphanages in the modern day. I mean, just think about it. Why do they have so many orphanages back then and they're basically non-existent now? Does that make any sense? This wasn't limited to just the United States, as you see these all over Europe as well. There was this need to begin to move massive amounts of people to new locations, possibly for the purpose of causing identity crisis so that they would never know of their true history.
Wait a second. You did a 2-week straight stream, bro? Like people will watch you while you were sleeping? Dude, you're a fucking beast. One content creator to the next. I have no idea what it's like to do a fucking a 24-hour stream, which I would want to do one. I'm pretty sure I can set it up on a phone I have to stream to where I could take you in IRL. Wouldn't that be sick? Take an IRL stream. I think that would be dope. You're a beast though. Shout out Sammy Sweetheart, bro. Shout out Sammy Sweetheart. If you don't already, you should be streaming on Kick too while you stream on Twitch. Sammy. There's no reason why you shouldn't be streaming on Kick as well. You know what I mean? But if you don't, Sammy Sweetheart, go follow her on Twitch. Hell yeah. She's a day one. If you go over to Twitch and you see her, that's so sick. That's so sick, Sammy. I'm proud of you. That makes my heart happy. If you go over to Twitch and you notice her name on Twitch, she has like that little one symbol. She was one of the very first people ever to subscribe to my channel. Sammy, sweetheart, you're a legend. Thank you.
We need to realize that these asylum buildings were also orphanages. That's why when you type in orphan asylums, you see the exact same structures. Not only were these mental institutions, but all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there was this rise in orphans. I really don't buy the mainstream story because many of these orphans were taken advantage of and put to work. So there's so much to this beyond just the stolen buildings aspect. But it's strange, right? Why the need to combine asylums and orphanages? I found this article.
Isn't that actually like an interesting question? Please answer that question for me in the chat if you feel so obliged. Why would they merge asylums with orphanages? Is it because the conditions these kids had to live in were so heinous that a natural symptom of these living conditions in these institutions was mental health problems, so that they could just move the kid right up into the padded room, right into the straitjacket, right into the lobotomy? Which then would make sense why then the conditions would probably get worse into the asylum part, which would then create violence, which would then perpetuate why they also had prisons connected to them. Just a thought. What do you think?
Called the Victorian Orphan Asylums, the real story, that spoke about how many of these orphanages were owned by wealthy donors who would donate in an effort to receive good publicity. The writer looks at old newspapers such as the Illustrated London News and discovers that they published articles in 1850 portraying asylum activities as fun and joyous, showing fireworks as if everyone was having a fun time, yet the real conditions in the background were the orphans were not getting fed and many were suffering from sickness. I was looking at some of these old photos and I started to see a trend with what's called colored orphanages. There's this engraving talking about how there were riots in New York at a colored orphanage, and the story is that this was a mob of around 1,000 people who decided to go and destroy this orphanage and everything in it, including the children's clothes. And I saw this article talking about this for Black History Month, and they were looking at this from a negative light, as if these people came in and destroyed this charitable organization that was doing a good deed, but I suspect that something else was going on at these orphanages. And
wait a second. You're telling me that if you go back and do this history lesson into this specific situation of this specific colored orphanage asylum, that the news depicts it as these white devils coming to destroy this thing, to take away from these colored people, when in all actuality it was the Oddfellows that even had this, the Freemasonic Lodge. How do we know that the citizens themselves weren't just fucking done with the Freemasons, bro? How did we know that the citizens weren't just fucking over the fact that they know that these kids are fucking in a situation that causes them to get sick and die? What's up, Latel? What's up? What's up? First time chatter. What's up, dude? What's good, bro? There is a link that I just pinned to the top of the chat. I don't know if you're on Twitch. I don't know if you if you use Kick, but in about 10 or 15 minutes, we'll just be on Kick only. So make sure you hit the link that's pinned to the top of the chat.
Doing a good deed, but I suspect that something else was going on. At these orphanages, and some of the remaining survivors of the old world started realizing this, and so they fought back. Of course, the media covered this only from the perspective that benefited their sponsors, but as I kept looking, I realized that these colored orphanages were a big deal. And this is what was called the Colored Orphan Asylum, which was started in 1836 in New York just around this period of the reset. So here we go again. We have the orphan asylum connection along with the old world buildings. Except in this case, we have this focused on the black population. Of course, the mainstream explanation is that this has to do with slavery and that these children's parents weren't able to take care of them. But, I mean, look at this building. How many orphans did they have? And why was this considered to be an asylum as well? It's because it was a reprogramming center, and there were multiple of these. The specific one was supposedly rebuilt as well. Now, this colored orphan asylum was run by white Quakers, I believe, but not all of them were like this. And the Quakers actually started another one called the Thomas Asylum for Orphans and Destitute Indian Children. There's the Howard Colored Orphan Asylum, which was led by African Americans and has a very similar story. I know that many of these organizations seem to have good intentions, but I'm just questionable. I mean, look at some of these old newspapers. They were overcrowded and they wanted to make sure that they were good citizens. I don't know, this just seems super suspicious to me. And why are they called asylums? Mental training facilities. There's also the John Hopkins Colored Orphanage, and look at this place, it's another freaking castle. These are what they...
Training facility.
Call orphan asylums, and I just think it's weird that they have these specifically for colored peoples. I should mention that I've seen several photos with white children at these facilities as well, so not sure how strict they are with it being just black children, but they really had these colored orphanages in every major city. Some of the buildings are not as large as the main orphan asylum buildings, but they had this for every race, and since there were so many blacks in America due to them being here already, they needed orphanages specifically for colored peoples. There were also facilities for the Native American tribes, and mainstream history is pretty open about those being re-education camps designed to separate them from their families and traditions, so who's to say that all facilities such as those weren't teaching the same exact stuff? So now that we made the connection with orphanages and asylums, we can now look to see when this all got started, and this is when we get into foundlings. Because before all these orphanages, it really started with the foundlings, and these I believe were some of the...
Who lost the stream? Yes, I can link it.
First from the old...
Who lost the stream? Did people lose the stream? Oh no. Oh no. Lahel, do you have Discord? Latel, do you have Discord? Do you have Discord, my friend? Let me have you join up into our Discord, bro. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. But we got a big ass group of people up over here on Discord. Join the Discord if you would like to join our Discord. Team Humans Discord. Almost everybody who's up in here is up in here. Let's see how many freaking people we got. We got house plants right there. I love it. I love it, dude. Lacey Lane. See, there's the thing that flew off of her wall. Damn. There's her favorite house plant. We can look at that beauty. Ooh, beauty. Look at all those leaves. Look at all those slits. That's a happy ass plant. That plant's so taken care of, dude. Oh yeah, see, boom, right there. All three of those leaves fucking died. Doom. That plant just took a hit for you, bro. In the spiritual realm, bro. Dead ass just took a hit for you. Yeah, but join the Discord, bro. But I will drop the link to that video. I'll drop it in the Discord chat right now, actually. Bam, just dropped it. Dropped it in the Discord. Thanks. Hopefully you join. We'd love to have you. Oh, wrong one. All these freaking tabs and shit.
Old world to be moved around in the old world European cities. So you had these first orphanages being called foundling hospitals, and they were the institutions funded by the Catholic Church for the reception of foundlings, or children who had been abandoned and or taken from couples who were not married. These started to appear all over Europe in the early 1700s in Austria, Belgium, France, England, Scotland, Ireland, Italy, and Russia. Why so many children without parents? Was there some event that displaced a large group of people during these times? The Foundling Hospital in London was founded in 1739 by another wealthy philanthropist named Thomas Coram. It was a children's home for the education and maintenance of exposed and deserted young children. What's so weird is the excuse they give us for calling these places hospitals, because these institutions gave hospitality to those less fortunate. Yeah, they gave out so much hospitality while making orphans sleep bored to a bed and creating a place where disease can thrive, such as smallpox. These were centers of control, not hospitality, and that doesn't even make sense. I think they knew what hospital meant in the 1700s. Interestingly, I was looking at the arms of the hospital, and there are some clear Phoenician symbols. The multi-breasted Diana? Why would they need to use ancient symbols of repopulation here? This is a replanting seed operation, and they're telling you. These hospitals, just like Napa State, practice eugenics. They were trying to create the perfect race of humans, so these places were experimental repopulation centers for recently cleared cities. So in 1756, the House of Commons resolved that all children offered should be received, that local receiving places should be appointed all over the country, and that funds should be publicly guaranteed. They then allowed young orphans to be flooded into workplaces all around the country. So, after their reprogramming, they put them to work. This exact same thing happened in the United States during the Industrial Revolution. Child labor was perfectly fine during this time. Some as young as 4 would work long hours in factories in dangerous conditions. Young migrants from Ireland and Germany were put into factories in poor conditions and essentially worked as slaves. It's possible that many of these factories and orphanages were owned by the British, who were then commissioned by the Royal Venetians, and they would take over an old world property and begin using these orphans as slaves to use as their own workers. In the Industrial Revolution, most of the children who were workers were orphans, and they had no choice to work for food. These children received little to no education. They would work in coal mines from 4 a.m. to 5 p.m., and the young girls would work in match factories, and the harsh chemicals would often cause them to lose their teeth. So, if these orphan asylum hospitals are named hospitals for their hospitality, then why is it that most of these orphans ended up being used in factories during this time?
Thank you,
It
bro.
wasn't until
Thanks for the
1938
sub.
with the Fair Labor Standards Act that there was limitations placed on child labor. Interestingly, this is right around the time when orphanages started to fizzle away. I guess they lost their ambitions to help the needy once they realized they couldn't be worked any longer. So essentially, it started with these foundling institutions that relocated and placed the children whose parents most likely were associated with the old world in some way. And these children were then put through cleansing or reprogramming, right? And then these orphans went on to become Oddfellows. These Oddfellows were funded by royalty and older secret societies. These Oddfellow orphan Freemasons started creating orphanages in old world buildings in America to begin repopulating newly taken over cities. They would send in orphans via the orphan trains. This isn't the official history. Between the period of 1854 to 1929, over 300,000 children were transported from New York to the Midwest over a 75-year period, in the largest mass migration of children in American history.
Wait, what? 300,000 children. Really take a second to just grasp that amount. 300,000 children were trafficked across the country by train to repopulate those areas. Wait a second. 300,000 Freemasonic initiates were just spread out into the country to influence become politicians, teachers, doctors, police officers. Seems fucking insane, right? Yeah, that's like 500,000 parents, bro, that just decided to give up their kids. Just like, here, you guys can just have the children. 500,000 adults, because each kid has two parents, right? 300,000 children. That's a lot, bro. Imagine, like, dead ass, bro. Imagine, okay, if there was a breaking news, 300,000 children are missing. Oh wait, they did do that with the last like immigration stuff, right? All these like 300,000 missing children. Oh yeah.
As many of 25% of these orphans were Irish, interestingly. So don't get it twisted, this was an operation. This was no philanthropic pursuit, this was planned and coordinated. Quote, in the 1870s, the Catholic Church became concerned that many Catholic children were being sent to Protestant homes and were being inculcated with Protestant values. They began operating their own placing out program via the railroad sponsored by the New York Foundling Hospital. Quote, many children fell through the cracks. They were mistreated, malnourished, and overworked, says writer and researcher Marilyn Holt, author of the book The Orphan Trains Placing Out in America. Quote, on the other hand, for at least half, it was a good experience. They had opportunities that they would not have if they stayed where they were. They may not have even survived childhood. End quote. Now, when she says they had opportunities, I think what she really means is that they actually had a chance to join the orphan club, or, like the Oddfellows, had connections with the higher-ups or local officials that then gave them better positions. For the vast majority, this was not the case, but they like to mention that...
Wait a second. Who's ever heard this? Please, sir, can I have some more? With like the bowl of soup. He's like standing. He's like, please, sir, can I have some more? Whew, I got chills. That's what this picture reminds me of right here. Please, sir, can I have some more?
They did get some opportunities, as if this was representative of most of these orphans. Their opportunities were to be worked or starved for most of them. Today, it is said that over 2 million Americans are descended from orphan-trained writers.
Whoa, 2 million? 2 million? 2 million descendants alive today? That's like the whole fucking Masonic population in our country. It's like every single descendant just has a lodge in every city in our country. Weird, huh?
It could be even more than that. They use these old world trained technologies to traffic vast amount of newly programmed orphans into these cities. This happened in almost every major city in America. According to the official narrative, quote, the co-founders of the orphan train movement claimed that these children were orphaned, abandoned, abused, or homeless, but this was not always true. They were mostly the children of new immigrants and the children of the poor and destitute families living in these cities. Criticisms include ineffective screening of caretakers, insufficient follow-ups on placements, and that many children were used as strictly slave farm labor. End quote. Shouldn't that make us question all of these orphanages and asylums? 3 charitable institutions, Children's Village, founded 1851 by 24 philanthropists, the Children Aid Society, established 1853 by Charles Loring Brace, New York Foundling Hospital, are some of the organizations behind these orphan trains. This was funded by wealthy donors who had no interest in caring for these children.
Wait a second. We hear about wealthy donors now in our own politics that have no care for citizens or countries or flags or cultures or traditions. Just the wealthy donors. You know what I'm saying? Seems like wealthy donors are just the things that fund and finance and control all of it. That's why this like Peter Thiel and Jeffrey Epstein secret society stuff of billionaires and oligarchs basically all across the planet is concerning to me. Is because maybe, like I said prior, we're watching like actual secret society wars, not like government wars or cartel wars or gang wars or mob wars. It's like real fucking secret societies are like fighting for control as this technology of AI is advancing so fast that all of these billionaires have started to just easily be able to pull the strings based off of this technology or this company that they own that runs a computer, basically.
I thought this was weird when I saw this in the criticism section on Wikipedia. Quote, many children lost their identity through forced name changes and repeated moves. In 1996, Alice Allier said, quote, I was one of the luckier ones because I knew my heritage. They took away the identity of the younger writers by not allowing contact with the past, end quote. So they lost their identity and were given completely new names. So just think about that, because they don't really mention this clearly when you first look into this. Over 300,000 people essentially got their histories erased and were placed into brand new cities.
To be honest, it sounds like Project Monarch to me. Like MK Ultra programming in the fucking 1800s.
This is exactly what they wanted, identity crisis, so that we would have no idea who we were in the past. And look at this. Quote, all orphan trained children were true orphans, but were made into orphans by forced removal from their biological families to be placed out in other states. Some claim this was a deliberate pattern intended to break up immigrant Catholic families. Some abolitionists opposed placements of children with Western families, viewing indentureship as a form of slavery, end quote. The Children's Aid Society's 6th annual report is a random sample of Children's Aid Society placements made between 1854 and 1890 indicated that 72% of all children placed had at least one living parent. These records also indicate that adult relatives frequently accompanied children on the orphan trains. Basically, they weren't even orphans. They were taken from their parents and relocated by force. Quote, orphan trains were the target of lawsuits, generally filed by parents seeking to reclaim their children. Right? So they don't really tell us the full story about these orphanages, meaning that, oh, we actually took these children from their parents.
This seems a lot more fucked up than it was leading on to believe. Like they just like take them away. You know, it wasn't necessarily anything that the parent did or the parent didn't give up their rights to the kids. It just seemed as if these secret orders just kind of had some sort of control over the society that they resided in and were just able to just remove the children based off of anything that they just deemed fit. And then when they removed the children, that child never saw their parents again. And they were fucking brainwashed to become a completely different person with a completely different identity, with completely different morals, ideological beliefs about theology and spirituality and religion, and then we're just shipped all the way across the country to some random family. Probably not random, but yeah. Seems wild, doesn't it? Seems fucking wild.
So there's something definitely else going on when it comes to asylums, prisons, orphanages, or foundling hospitals all around this time of the 1800, 1812 period, where you start to have these reset ghost cities. And it really makes you think if this was an underground operation that they leave out of the history books, and the purpose was to repopulate recently conquered old world cities with brand new reprogrammed orphans ready for reset with no memories of the past generation. You see, many people are curious as to how could such a history be hidden from us, but if you consider the orphan trains, it makes sense that the first people placed in these cities were orphans who had no idea of their past, so why would they even question the buildings? Their owners could have just gave them a different explanation at the time. And like I said, I think that the very first group of orphans into a city are actually like the prized choiced ones. They are the ones selected to be odd fellows and control the next batch of orphans who come in. So they probably know a little bit and they were given more opportunities in the starting of the city, but they too themselves probably know little of what happened. That secret is known by the royal Phoenician families and other secret organizations who most likely have never revealed their name. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed these last two. And
Broski Manowski. Oh man, that was a wild ride. That's a lot to digest, homie, if I'm being 100 with you. I think we might need to do some fucking breath work, bro. Are you guys down for breath work over on freaking Kick? Okay, now let me just ask you this, okay? Let me tell you this, Littell. The reason it's just a Kick only, okay? I started streaming on Twitch. And then I went to YouTube, and then I went to Kick, and then I added Facebook. So like I'm live on Facebook right now as well. I'm live on YouTube, live on Kick, live on Twitch. And out of all, I'm still working towards monetization on YouTube. I need 3,000 hours of watch time, bro, on YouTube. So that's down the road. But on Kick, if people choose to subscribe or send kicks or whatever it may be, Kick gives me more of that money, a higher percentage of the money that my followers and viewers contribute to what I'm doing. And Twitch, which is owned by Jeff Bezos, which is in the Epstein files, which also takes 70 to 80% of all revenue, which is owned by Amazon. And so I'm trying to, the reason there's a Kick only at the end is because I'm trying to get everybody onto Kick. One, Kick doesn't have ads if you're not subscribed, which if people are on Twitch and they're not subscribed, which forces them to pay money to Amazon so they don't have to watch commercials. I'm not really too cool with that. You know what I mean? So I'm just trying to get everybody to come over to Kick, as well as we started Kick, we have a Kick only stream on Thursdays, which my wife actually is going to be joining moving forward. She joined last week. She said she's going to be joining every week. That's Thursday evenings at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So if you want to hang out with me and my wife, that's for Kick only as well. I've streamed Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Mondays is like first thing in the morning. Wednesdays and Fridays is in the afternoon. The schedule might change just a little bit because I'm also for the first time ever going to start homeschooling my kids. So I'm going to juggle that while the content as well. So yeah, join the Kick stream. Join the Kick stream. It's been a long one today, bro. That was a wild rabbit hole, bro. We've been live right now for 3 hours and 56 minutes. I did not anticipate to go that long today. Kind of wild, bro. Kind of wild. It's kind of wild. Sometimes I just get down here. Yes, you can still turn in your channel points on Twitch. So So if you are on Twitch, we do have, if you do prefer Twitch, if you don't like Kick, you can view it anywhere. I just think that I'm trying to direct traffic to Kick, so that's why I promote it so much. I need watch time on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Blinker check, okay. I need to get 100 individuals to chat inside of the chat group and Kick. This is also something that I'm trying to build towards. One of my little achievement things that I need for Kick is I have to have an average viewership of 50 people. I don't think I've even gotten to the point where I have an average viewership of 50 people across 4 platforms yet. So that's one reason why I'm trying to direct traffic to Kick, is so that I can achieve what the platform I'm trying to grow, while simultaneously just posting as the same stuff on YouTube, while the watch time can go up on that. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's a freaking multi-front battle, bro. And I fucking post consistently on Facebook and Instagram, dude. It's a grind that I choose every day. I love doing it, bro. I love coming up in here, bro. I love it. Do you guys love it? Do you guys come live? Do you guys love coming and hanging out with me? Because I fucking just get I just get energized, bro. I just come up in here like I didn't know I was pulling a 4-hour stream today. The plan was like a 2-hour stream, to be honest with you. Crazy. I will be. So maybe today's going to be different. So after I get off of here, I then have to pull off this whole entire live stream video and pull it into my editor and then edit the freaking whole entire video before I repost it on YouTube. But I'm not going to post the whole stream on YouTube. I'll leave the whole stream up on YouTube, but then this Oddfellows section I'm going to post as a standalone video, and then the mindful message I'm going to post as a standalone video, which is the opening message that I just try to talk straight to your soul and give you something that you can take with you, regardless if you go down these crazy rabbit holes with me. All right, Facebook, you better join the kick because I'm turning you off. I love you. If you don't come to kick, it's all right. I appreciate you being here. I love you, Facebook. I'll see you guys live on Wednesday again. Twitch, you're next. I love you. I'll see you guys on Wednesday. YouTube, you're last but not least. I'll see you guys on Wednesday.